It's your journey. Let's make it friendly. We are your airport. Fly MFR.
71.5 Golf Challenge arrives Saturday, May 17th, with a 4-person scramble, morning and afternoon shotguns, and a 6:30 award social. Register your team to win by April 1st for our early bird special. Score the team player pack for just $20 instead of $100 with code EARLYBIRDIE. Become a sponsor and help thousands of kids across Southern Oregon. Visit 715.org or call 541-779-3275 today. Remember, at the 71.5 Golf Challenge, your drive changes lives.
Hey, it's your old car here. Remember me? Remember us? You barely even turn me on anymore. It's clear you don't need me, but that's perfectly fine, my friend, because you can choose to give this old car new purpose and donate. There are incredible nonprofits out there that accept cars just like me. So call or donate online. Donating a vehicle is easy, the pickup is free, and your gift is tax deductible.
This week on The John Ankerberg Show.
The polls of the Pew Research Center show that 4 in 10 Americans believe we are living in the last days. Further, it found out that 70% of evangelical Christians believe Christ could return during their lifetime. Where does the Bible talk about these things?
Join me for The John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for San Francisco and the Bay Area. Seen on KURK3 and these Dove TV affiliates.
Well, good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Paulina is with me today, filling in for the ailing Jerry Bilden.
Yeah, he's recovering.
He's recovering, you know. He had a bad week.
Yeah.
Anyway, good morning to you.
Sometimes God uses things to slow us down,
Boy,
Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah, well, he, as we announced yesterday, the first day of spring vacation, he broke his leg skiing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he's in recovery mode, doing fine, even after surgery, he's doing fine. But, you know, I think he's going to go from being sore to being angry to being cabin fever.
So he's going to show up here one more.
Well, you know, he's going to do everything that Pam tells him not to do. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the morning program. We got a lot going on in the news today, as always. So just to let you know that it's supposed to be 85 degrees today. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the palm trees are going to be just kind of swinging.
Just a little bit.
And it's a world holiday.
Stay home today.
Stay home today.
And in fact, we are home. Yeah. We're Skyping in. We're not in the studio.
There we go.
Hashtag April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day. Yeah.
It is April Fool's, and a day of harmless pranks and playful shenanigans. So just be careful today. There's going to be a lot of those online and perhaps in your office. But if you're into silly jokes and surprises, this is your day. Also, we're marking the National 1 Cent Day. That's a penny that is no longer going to be produced here in the United States. But it was first issued in 1787, designed by Benjamin Franklin, and it was made of pure copper. Well, now it's a lot has changed, and it's being made out of, let's see, what is it? I had it here. Well, anyway, it's not pure copper anymore, and it costs more to make it than actually what it's cost. So we're not going to have pennies anymore.
Did they say when?
No, I mean, they did probably. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
Finally, it's National Sourdough Bread Day.
Oh.
So if you're into comfy food, this is it. The deliciously tangy loaf has been a staple since ancient Egypt. and became iconic during the California Gold Rush. San Francisco, in fact, still claims the best sourdough around thanks to its unique wild yeast. I have to argue, though, we have some ladies here at theDove who make
well, Anna Chase is the queen of sourdough loaves, and she makes this, and I'm not sure what the recipe is, excuse me, but every loaf is perfect.
Yeah, that's like the next level baking when you can have every loaf of your bread perfect. But today is sourdough bread day, and paired with butter, some stew, perfect on this rainy day.
Good stuff. All right. Good morning to you. Well, he's down but not out. Jerry does the weather. Here it is.
Seasonably cool and showery conditions will continue until a period of drying moves in after midweek. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly cloudy, then a slight chance of showers with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with a chance of showers near 56 in Salem, a chance of showers with highs near 55 for Albany and Corvallis, showers likely near 54 in Eugene. In Central Oregon, a slight chance of rain and snow in near 50 in Prineville, a chance of snow in mid-40s in Bend, snow likely in near 43 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, decrease in clouds with a high near 52. Showers along the Oregon coast with daytime highs in the low to mid-50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings. Showers and breezy in low 50s in Crescent City, California, with gusts up to 34 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, showers with daytime high temperatures near 53 in Grants Pass and Medford and 49 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers, breezy, in low to mid-40s. Into northern California, rain and snow, then rain in upper 40s in Wairika. Showers with the possibility of thunderstorms and breezy with highs in the upper 50s to low 60s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento. In the Bay Area, rain with the chance of thunderstorms between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. with daytime highs in the upper 50s for Santa Rosa, Napa, San Francisco, and San Jose, with a west wind gusting up to 29 miles per hour. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on theDove.
All right, there's a look at Mount Ashland. It's snowing up there, and guess what? They've had 10 inches in 24 hours, over 16 inches in 7 days. Their base is 120 inches at the lodge. They've had over 316 inches so far of snow this year, and it's snowing right now, and it's 21 degrees up there.
Are you being serious right now? Or
yeah,
is it
that's
April
true.
Fool?
Those are real numbers. That's not an April Fool's thing.
I can't believe you anymore.
Yeah.
For the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But that's
true.
True numbers.
That's true numbers, and they're closed today, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But 10 inches in 24 hours. That's a lot of snow.
Wow. Amazing.
15 to 16 inches in the last week. The base, which is down below at the lodge, that's 120 inches. Now it's usually a little less at the top because of the wind. But so far this season, they've had over 316 inches of snow. One of the best years in the history of the mountain. And it could be by the end of the season, because they got an extension for 2 more weekends beyond the normal time through the forestry department to be open just 2 extra weekends, not weekdays, but weekends. They could break their record of attendance this year. They're on target to have the busiest year they've ever had.
Poor Jerry.
Poor Jerry, and he can't finish the season. I know that he's looking at the mountain with mixed reviews. You know?
All right. Well, there are a lot of promises in the Bible, and once in a while a situation happens in your life, and you're like, is God really going to keep this one this time? Well, here's Greg Laurie on how God does or doesn't keep his promises.
God keeps his promises. No matter what you're going through right now, God's going to be faithful to you. I love that story when Jesus said to his disciples, let's cross over to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. Then they hit a horrible storm. They despaired of life, but they made it to the other side. He didn't say, let's go to the middle of the Sea of Galilee and all drown in a big storm. Had he said that, I would have never boarded that boat. He said, let's get over to the other side. He doesn't promise smooth sailing, but he does promise a safe arrival. And the same is true for us. You're going to get to the other side. You're going to make it. God who has begun a work will complete it unto the day of Jesus Christ. It may not be smooth sailing, but you will ultimately have a safe arrival. Remember, God never forgets about you. Even if things are hard for you right now circumstantially, Maybe you feel as though you've not heard from the Lord. Just hang in there and hold on. And don't forget about him.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so would you get on a boat that said, go to the other side, but maybe you won't make it?
Mm-hmm. Good point, yes.
No, that's good stuff all the way around. All right, thank you, Greg Laurie. Good morning to you. Some of the top stories, let's take a look at it at 7.5 minutes past the hour. Well, Elon Musk and his Doge team, they seem to be getting everywhere, and they are not making too many friends these days. I still find it so interesting that people want to ruin a Tesla owned by somebody else, thinking that somehow they're getting it at Elon Musk.
I saw a Tesla here recently. An owner must be a liberal. He just crossed his own symbol, Tesla symbol on his car. He just crossed it with a red cross on both sides. And I thought, you know what, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, go sell it if you're so hating your car and what it represents.
Well, they hate
making a statement like that.
Yeah, I have a friend that's getting rid of one because he hates Trump. And I thought, well, you didn't.
I'll take it.
You thought it was the greatest thing in the world until it was him. So anyway, he is now looking into the sudden wealth of lawmakers. He's beginning to realize you get elected to public office, and these people come in as paupers and they go out gazillionaires.
Yeah.
So is this part of the kickback that he's looking for? Anyway, here's what he's saying about this.
Let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while earning. How'd they get $20 million if they're earning $200,000 a year? It sounds. Nobody can explain that. So something's. Yeah, we're going to try to figure it out and certainly stop it from happening.
So. What he's saying there is he's going to look into kickbacks. Mm-hmm. He's finding the fraud in all these agencies. And who was benefiting from the fraud and the extra money and all that? Because there seems to be a lot of money going into agencies that have employed a lot of people, but there's fraud on top of that. So where's it going? So is there a kickback scheme in government that we all suspect but don't know how it works?
It's a lucrative career to work for a government either way. You have so many benefits that I have so many questions about.
Yeah.
But regardless, it is a good question. Someone goes in and then their net worth goes up, and they've been on a really good salary, but still, that shouldn't be what drives it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. All right, the other story is that hit the headlines. There's a lot of wrangling going on between the federal judge and President Trump over the deportation of foreign people, aliens, and he's been doing it under what they call the Alien Enemies Act, and he's still deporting people. Well, over the weekend, he deported 17 more that were not only MS-13 people, but really members of the bad of the bad. They were being held in Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, and they were sent to El Salvador, and El Salvador was receiving them. So there they are, getting on military aircraft, leaving, and being sent. And Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, says, in order to keep America safe, the President of the United States designated these MS-13 and foreign terrorist organizations that the criminals will no longer terrorize our communities and citizens and have been deported to El Salvador. So it's still going on while the courts are battling. You know what? On this issue, Trump is getting a 67% approval rating. Excuse me.
All across the board.
Across the board. Well, here's a story that just kind of makes you kind of go, really?
What is it?
Bill Maher.
Yeah.
I don't know why we look at the five, Bill Maher, and some of these all-night people as being authorities. They're just, comedians making fun of everything, but they have their own biases. Well,
they have their own audience.
They have their own audience, yeah, they do. And it's entertaining, okay, but somehow we give them credit as if what they're talking about is really real. But he's been an interesting guy. He's been all over the board. It's kind of like he doesn't even like himself being a liberal, but he is a liberal. Okay, but he's now starting to be uncomfortable being a liberal. Well, he went after NPR and public television and said, yeah, they ought to be defunded. And here's what he had to say.
Well, a little background here. I mean, they've been after them the Republicans have wanted to get rid of PBS for as long as I can remember. This crowd will probably do it. I mean, I also read my namesake, Catherine Marr, was head of NPR, and she said, "We're completely unbiased. Give me a break, lady." I mean, they're crazy far left. So, I mean, I think we're past the age, really, where the government, first of all, why do we need to subsidize? Why can't we have outlets like this? And we're so polarized. These outlets became popular at a time when Republicans and Democrats didn't hate each other and weren't at each other's throats and didn't think each other was an existential threat. In that world, you can't have places like this, I think, anymore. They have to be private.
This is quite an admission for him to say that, PBS and public television need to go away and not be funded anymore. By the way, here's the real tickle. We all know that, and you're familiar with it, we don't want state-run media. We don't want that. Number two is, if they're so good, let them make it on their own.
Exactly. Yeah, if your content is so appealing to the public, why do you need to be subsidized?
Yeah, just prove yourself. Go out and could you? They say, "Oh, it's only 1%." No, it's not. Don't sit there and lie to me. It's 1%. Oh, it's only 60. No, it's not. You may get that in cash, but you get everything else in a grant.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, for Bill Maher to say PBS needs to go away, that's quite a move.
Well, and not only that, he's now saying he's going to be meeting with President Trump in the White House.
Yeah.
He got an invitation that he's graciously accepted.
Well, he should, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, why not? It's an office that I respect, and I'll go there and I'll talk to anyone who wants to talk to me. So there we go.
Okay. Okay, tomorrow. Now, the president wanted to do this today, but because today's April Fool's Day, he decided, no, this would be made fun of because it's very serious. But tomorrow, get ready. Tomorrow is going to be the Great Liberation Day in America. And the president's going to hold a significant news conference at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, noon our time, announcing a string of tariffs. And basically what he is going after here is, whatever you're charging us, we're going to charge you. Okay, and we're going to charge you more until you at least meet us in the middle. So he's going to announce this big tariff thing, which supposedly in his mind is going to be the great economic boost in America's history. So the big day of liberation will be tomorrow and not today. He was going to do it today, but since it's April Fool's Day, he decided to wait a day.
When you said Liberation Day, I thought he's going to announce that IRS has been eliminated.
Well, okay, so to that point, he is saying no tips on tax. No tax on tips, excuse me. Sorry about that. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. If you buy a car made in America and you finance it, the interest rates will be deductible. He's got a list of things that are going to be a part of these tariffs. So basically what he's saying, America business first, everybody else stand in line.
Good.
So we'll see how it works. So that's tomorrow. He was going to do it today, but he thought, if I do it today, it'll be made fun of.
So tomorrow, then we'll talk about it Thursday.
Yeah, but I'm just giving you a heads up. Tomorrow's headline, I just gave it to you. In the Bible, they call that prophecy.
Oh.
See, prophecy is foretelling history. So I just foretold. I just foretold you tomorrow's headline.
Yeah.
So anyway, there we go. Some of the top stories on this day. And do we have anything to eat today? Did we have a food?
We had sourdough bread.
Oh, sourdough bread.
It's bacon right there. I can smell it. We're going to go have some. And
we need to have, Dan, when we get the kitchen rebuilt, it's torn apart right now. We need to have Anna come over and do a sourdough loaf special.
Why? Why would Dan allow Anna come over here and spend her time on us when she can be making bread for him and his 15 kids?
Well, that would be a problem for him because she's a whole lot cuter than he is. And she would be an instant star, just like that. So that would be tough.
It is a good bread.
I don't know if his ego could handle that, but I still think we ought to give it a try.
Okay.
Okay,
Anna.
we'll be right back.
Take it all away. Magnify no other name. Open up.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why at Kelly's, it's automotive service with a heart for God, and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond, but that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
The Dove is upgrading our studios. For the first time, weather and sound insulation, air conditioning, and we're enlarging our studios to produce more local shows. It's been budgeted, but we also need some much-needed equipment to complete the remodel. Our goal is $128,853. Will you prayerfully consider helping us during our spring boost? You can call anytime or donate online safely at thedove.us. Thank you for helping the Dove change lives.
Welcome back. Happy Fool's Day. Well, I shouldn't say that. Well,
it is April Fool's.
It is April Fool's, and I guess you can have fun with that. Anyway, some regional news. This is kind of interesting. BLM, the Bureau of Land Management in Oregon, is rushing to review Oregon's lithium project. I didn't know that this thing was as significant as it is, but there's a huge, significant lithium project in southeastern Oregon that the BLM is looking at, and the Trump administration appears to be fast-tracking what they call, well, it's an Australian company, lithium project in southeastern Oregon to go in there and mine this stuff. Well, as you can imagine, this is going to just create all kinds of responses. So they gave everybody, it was a 103-page assessment. And if you didn't respond by yesterday, tough luck. Yesterday was the deadline. And I saw the story and I go, I didn't even know this thing was brewing out there. It's big. And the president wants to allow people in on government land to start going after minerals. We'll see where this goes. Will it get tied up in the courts? I don't know. But I did not know that Oregon had this big, huge potential lithium mining field out in southeastern Oregon. So we'll keep you posted on that. And then only the last thing for today is, you have studded tires, they have to be off today. They actually should be off yesterday. So if you have studded tires on your car, they're due off today. And if they're not off today and you're driving around, they'll get you. I don't even know why we still have studded tires. In today's tire world, they have such great tires and traction. I don't know why we still have these studded things. They're good, I guess, if you're really in icy conditions. But, you know, down here in the valley, I don't know.
Can you tell that someone has studded tires?
Oh, you can hear them coming.
You can hear.
Yeah.
But you can't really tell visually?
Well, you can see it because they have these little metal...
I'm just thinking, how are these people getting caught?
Well...
Not these people. How are people? I mean, I'm not trying to make you look bad.
They're very, very noticeable if you're driving around on a bare street. You can hear them, but today's the day you have to have them off. You know, and they also they don't do the road any good. They really create some problems there. All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going. We have some systems over the top of us. One more out there that could still give us some activity late today and tomorrow. And then it looks like Thursday and the rest of the week things are going to calm down and be okay, according to Jerry Bilden. You know, broken buildings saying. So one more day of some showers today and activity, maybe a little bit tomorrow, and then Thursday on things start to get more springy-like. So that's what's going on.
Well, there is a win for women and girls in New Hampshire in this whole transgender issue and discussion that is going on. A bill passed through their House Bill 148 that allows to classify people by their biological sex in certain circumstances, like going to a bathroom or using a gym or in prison. And one of the reasons this bill passed through the House in New Hampshire was thanks to Democrats like Jonah Wheeler, who stood up last week and spoke out against his party, broke the ranks with his party, and stood up for women. Here's part of his speech.
Mr. Speaker, the powerful anecdotes of one person and the consent of one person cannot stand for the consent of another person. And if there are women who feel unsafe, if there are women who feel like their space has become not private, then we should listen to those women. And just because a small segment of the population would like those policies to accommodate them over women doesn't mean that we here today can do that. So, Mr. Speaker, for us, and I pause because my colleagues are walking out as I give this speech. People are clapping in the gallery for their walking out. And Mr. Speaker, I think that illustrates exactly why I got up here today. I could have quietly voted my conscience, could have followed the party line. But, Mr. Speaker, again, the consent of one person cannot stand for the consent of another. And just because one person is comfortable with a transgender woman being in the bathroom with them or playing sports with them or being in a prison with them doesn't mean that another woman is. And these issues do not have to cause violence. These conversations can be nuanced, and we can have conversations about treating each other with respect and humanity. And putting in place policies that say that women who were born women deserve a space to themselves, whether that be the bathroom or sports or the locker room or prisons, is not transphobic. The orthodoxy of the Democratic Party on this issue has left us to where we can't have nuanced discussions, and women are being silenced in this conversation. As much as people don't want to hear that, that is what is happening.
And that was a pretty powerful speech by someone who, like he said, instead of just quietly voting his conscience, he decided to stand up and speak out and call out his party. Now, I'm not saying he changes his mind on all the transgender issue, but he makes a good point. There can be exceptions, and we can use common sense. If some women are uncomfortable, let's hear them. Why are we not protecting those who feel threatened?
So isn't that kind of the bottom line argument, that the transgender has silenced the voice of those who are against what they want? So why doesn't the voice of the women who don't want a male in their locker room have equal acceptance of the voice of those who want males in women's bathroom? So they have silenced those who they want to step on, which is hypocritical of the left, because they supposedly were always for women's rights. Now they've downed them, and they've given a major voice to the oddity of the one who wants to go in there and change the norm. You're dealing with natural law, and I think even people who are not people of faith understand this is natural law and it shouldn't be violated. Mm-hmm. You know, there's something inside your human that tells you this isn't right and we shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
And so those who are pushing it, then what is the motive behind them? What are they trying to accomplish? What is it they really want? That vote? Do they want that vote? Is that what they want?
I think it could be that. I mean, Governor Newsom talked about it on his podcast, remember, and he talked about how to him it's compassion. We want to be compassionate to people who feel this way. We don't want them to feel ostracized and discriminated against and all that stuff. So, you know, if you're, but then again, back to your point, if you're compassionate to this very, very small segment of the population, why aren't you compassionate to those who feel threatened, and why aren't you listening to them?
So where does natural law come in with basic law? Why don't we give this same feeling to a criminal? Why don't we give the same feeling to a rapist Why don't we give this same feeling to a murderer? That's what we're doing here. We're taking a small segment of the culture and saying you have more rights than the common. Mm-hmm. And so you wouldn't do it to a murderer. Then why are you doing it to somebody who is absolutely violating nature's law? Well, why is that the exception?
Yeah. I mean, you're asking me to explain the nonsense that's out there. It's more a rhetoric question.
It's rhetorical, yes.
Rhetorical question. I think the thinking is the natural law is fluid.
Yes.
And what's law to you is not law to others. Yeah. And, you know, we've lived for thousands of years, millennia, with a certain law. And in the 20th century, suddenly there's 10,000 other genders.
Yeah, it's the same thinking that the Constitution should be liquid too. So what's so interesting to me is. This is going to be crazy, but I'll put it out there. Have we really interviewed the other side? We're not interviewing the people who went through this and then through it and realized it was a mistake. We have not been fair to the equation by saying this is normal, let's do it, and not dealt with the people who have gone through it and said this was the biggest mistake of their life. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like post-abortion syndrome. It's no longer part of the pro-life argument. And I've asked myself a million times, why aren't we interviewing women who have had great regret and the life of misery that they've had on the other side of their abortion? Why aren't we dealing with this? You know, so we're just putting this out here as normal and acceptable and doing it. You know, the only way you get involved in an issue is when it affects you personally. You don't see a parent at a school board meeting until their child was taken off and given an abortion and they weren't told about it.
Yeah. Well, and I would assume that people who've gone through the transgender reassignment surgery, they're on the other end of it and are regretting. I mean, imagine what kind of shame you may feel, what kind of hurt you're dealing with. Perhaps you're in depression. I mean, those people are not exactly you're not unless you're a natural spokesperson, it would be really hard to speak out after you've gone through all that, and now you're dealing with the consequences. So the mouthpieces for the movement become those who are in the midst of this tragedy and circus and just filth, and they're running around in their costumes and screaming about the rights for transgender people. But what happens to them later is just so tragic that it's probably hard for some to.
And what's so interesting to me, they'll say if we don't let them do it, they're going to commit suicide. Well, let me tell you, folks, the people who have done it have a higher suicide rate than those who are thinking about doing it. So it's an anomaly in our culture that is just crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. If we're going to be honest about mental health, why aren't we dealing with it before they do it, not after they do it? So I don't know. It's easy to condemn it. Don't get me wrong. It's very easy for us to do that. They are real people who are broken, and for the most part, they're broken children. Something's happened in their life where they got greatly confused, and they were very vulnerable, and they were capitalized on by either an education system or a person that took advantage of their vulnerability and ruined their life, and now they're really messed up. And so at the end of the day, they're broken people that need a lot of love.
Yeah, but there are, going back to the story, there are Democrats out there who understand common sense, who want to
that
vote.
was one of them.
Their heart. So take notice of this young man, John Wheeler, and maybe follow his example.
So let me ask you this, a quick note here. There's a young liberal on the floor of the legislature giving his argument against his party, okay? Mm-hmm. Then you have Bill Maher over here saying that PBS and public television need to go away and not be supported anymore, and called them, PBS and public television, the radical left. This goes back to our good friend Dr. Lamar that we had on. Mm-hmm. Remember him?
Yeah.
He's gone now. I really missed him. But he was saying that he was a forecaster, a model forecaster of sociology, and he said the Democratic Party and the Republican Party will split down the middle, and this big mushy middle. And so when you hear Bill Maher saying that's the radical left, well, what's he been all this time? Okay? Yeah. And you have this young man over here saying, I don't want to go this way. That's creating this volume of people in the middle that do want to get along even though we have differences. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sourdough bread, right now it would be good with just some butter and jelly on it. Or do you want cheese and not cheese?
Just butter.
Just
butter for me, please.
Okay, a little bread.
Thank you.
A symphony to my ears. It's that holy water forgiveness.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
Good morning to you. Happy April 1st. Yes, and with all that goes with that.
Yes.
So better weather is coming. So that is not an April Fool's joke. Today's going to be the big one. I think tomorrow we'll start to see things get more springy-like. All right, good morning to you. Let's check in with CBN News Watch and get caught up on the other part of the world.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm Ephraim Graham. A busy Tuesday. Let's begin this half hour in the Middle East, where tensions are rising between Iran, Israel, and the United States. Threats are flying. At the same time, Israel continues to try to negotiate a hostage ceasefire deal with Hamas. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more now. She's reporting from Jerusalem.
Iran is ramping up the rhetoric and threatening U.S. forces in the region.
The Americans have at least 10 bases and 50,000 forces near Iran. This means they are sitting in a glass room. Someone sitting in a glass room would not throw rocks at others.
Iran's supreme leader promised retaliation after Trump threatened to attack Iran if they don't agree to a nuclear deal.
But if they do, they will definitely receive a firm reciprocal blow.
He also called for the destruction of Israel.
It's a religious, moral, and human duty for everyone to work toward removing this wicked criminal entity from the region.
Despite all the tough talk, Trump's still holding out hope Iran is going to come around.
I can't imagine them doing anything else but making a deal. I would prefer a deal to the other alternative, which I think everybody in this plane knows what that is. And that's not going to be pretty, and I do not prefer that.
Ben Cohen of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy says Iran has so much uranium ready to go into nuclear bombs, Israel and the U.S. can't just sit by.
You've got a situation now where Iran has about 275 kilograms of weapons-grade enriched uranium. That is very risky. And so, yes, of course, every day that goes by without some kind of diplomatic resolution whereby Iran effectively surrenders its nuclear facilities and its nuclear program, every day that doesn't happen, we get closer to a military strike.
Monday, Trump announced details of an upcoming trip to the Middle East.
It could be next month, maybe a little bit later, yeah. And We're going to Qatar, and also we're going to possibly a couple of other countries. UAE is very important, and Saudi Arabia, the three of them, and then we'll go other places also. But in the Middle East, those seem to be the three.
Meanwhile, Israel and Hamas are trying to work out a new ceasefire deal. Israel is demanding 11 more hostages, but Hamas is offering only 5. The Israeli military is continuing to expand its operations against Hamas as negotiations continue. The IDF warns civilians in Rafah to flee before it hits targets there. Some civilians have just plain had it with the war.
We are dying. There is no food, no drink, no electricity, no medicine. People are being displaced. Where do we go?
On Monday, the IDF said it had destroyed a more than half-mile Hamas tunnel route and located a workshop for producing rockets and launchers. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem for a closer look at all the unfolding issues. So, Chris, what are some of the terms being discussed in the hostage negotiations?
Well, Ephraim, some of the terms on the Israeli side is Israel is proposing a 40 to 50-day truce to release about half of the remaining hostages, that would both living and dead. Prime Minister Netanyahu emphasizes during the negotiations that he wants to keep on the military pressure on Hamas while the talks go on. They also insist on Hamas disarming. On the other side, Hamas is saying they will agree, as Julie said in her report, 5 living Israeli hostages and also Idan Alexander, an Israeli-American. They're calling for a 50-day ceasefire and a release of more Palestinian prisoners and a facilitation of aid back into Gaza. And also on the Israeli side, to put more pressure on Hamas, Israel plans to take up to 25% of Gaza territory. Now, that's probably a real game changer for Hamas, who sees that territory as their lifeblood and the way they can remain in power.
Chris, what is the most recent threat from Iran is the U.S. does attack?
Well, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader says, if you attack, we'll just go ahead and make a nuclear weapon. It's kind of ironic. They say that they don't want a nuclear weapon. They say there's a fatwa against it, and they're going along with the IAEA, the UN Atomic Agency. But it doesn't seem to ring true for many people looking at Iran right now. The major question, I think, Ephraim, and it was reported there in Julie's story, are they weaponizing uranium now? And a long time, for years, they've been enriching uranium, but weaponizing uranium takes it to a whole new level. And so where many people ask where we are now, where the stakes are quite high, closer to U.S. military action, and the time for diplomacy is closing, and the time when Israel and perhaps the U.S. Take action to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, which would give Iran a nuclear umbrella over the entire Middle East and Israel. Right now, Israel seems to be waiting for the U.S. diplomatic process to go through and for President Trump to continue his diplomacy and trying to get Iran to the negotiating table. It doesn't seem to be working, but that threat of military action is out there right now so Iran has to consider that right now. It's very, very serious for both sides.
Okay, well, there we are in this tug-of-war between the United States, Israel, and Iran. Who's going to do what first? Wow. Tough stuff.
Chris Mitchell is amazing.
Oh, he's a great guy.
On top of things there.
Yeah, thank you for getting him. And you know what's so interesting about Chris? When you call, he gives us the time. Mm-hmm. He could be anywhere, but he gives us the time, so we value that greatly. All right, let's check in with Broken but Not Out.
Seasonably cool and showery conditions will continue until a period of drying moves in after midweek. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly cloudy, then a slight chance of showers with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with a chance of showers near 56 in Salem, a chance of showers with highs near 55 for Albany and Corvallis, showers likely near 54 in Eugene. In Central Oregon, a slight chance of rain and snow in near 50 in Prineville, a chance of snow in mid-40s in Bend, snow likely in near 43 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, decrease in clouds with a high near 52. Showers along the Oregon coast with daytime highs in the low to mid-50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings. Showers and breezy in low 50s in Crescent City, California, with gusts up to 34 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, showers with daytime high temperatures near 53 in Grants Pass and Medford and 49 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers breezy in low to mid-40s. Into Northern California, rain and snow, then rain in upper 40s in Wairika. Showers with the possibility of thunderstorms and breezy with highs in the upper 50s to low 60s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento. In the Bay Area, rain with the chance of thunderstorms between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. with daytime highs in the upper 50s for Santa Rosa, Napa, San Francisco, and San Jose, with a west wind gusting up to 29 miles per hour. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
All right, good morning to you. A quick shot of Mount Ashland for those of you watching on the radio. It's a little foggy up there, but it is basically snowed in. It's been snowing all morning, and a ton of snow up there. But it's not open today. All right, good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, last week, one of the breaking news was the arrest of top MS-13 leader in Virginia. There was a press conference. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, talked. The governor of Virginia made some remarks, but then also Kash Patel, the current FBI director, stepped to the microphone. And I said, I'm going to play this because I was just floored with the statistics that he shared, what's happening in our country. He also promised to make sure that he brings security and safety to all of the states here in the United States.
Right now, we have an American dying every 7 minutes from a drug overdose. That is a national security crisis we have not seen ever before. We have a woman or child being raped every 6.5 minutes in this country. We have a homicide twice an hour. No part of that metric is a safe and secure America. But thanks to the brave leadership of this administration and the folks that you see here, we are returning our communities to safety. My priority has been law enforcement across the country, and that will not change. But law enforcement across the country cannot be done just by Washington, D.C. and the federal government alone. This task force was stood up 1 month ago. In 1 month, the brave men and women on this task force from state, local, and federal authorities have arrested 342 criminals in the state of Virginia alone. We wanted this to be a successful model. It is a successful model because of you, because of your men and women on the streets. We have the easy job in Washington, D.C. You take it to the max every single day. You put your safety on the line. You put your selfless desires ahead of going home and seeing your families at night because you care more about safeguarding our schools and our community than you do your own safety. So we will always have the backs of good cops because you have the backs of the American people. And this task force is going to go everywhere it is needed across the United States to bring the form of justice and measured security and safety that our American citizens deserve. And we will not stop until this national security crisis is recognized, brought into check, and eliminated.
Those numbers are real and staggering when you hear that. And you have to scratch your head, why would a judge want to protect those people who do that? It's just kind of like, is this a Sodom and Gomorrah moment where right is wrong and wrong is right? And crazy is being ruled as righteousness and unrighteousness is being ruled as...
And I can hear, I can see some people saying, well, not everyone who's being deported is a rapist and a murderer. Fine. But having a woman or a child raped in this country every 6.5 minutes, that should make you want to deport everyone who's here illegally, because we don't want to take the chances. And I'm not saying it's all illegals who are doing that, but let's start where it's obvious. These people broke the law. It's in their DNA. Now, maybe different reasons why they did it, but regardless, at this point, I think we're in a crisis where things have to be taking place.
Yeah, and
but it's just so sad.
It is really
think
sad.
about it.
All right. Do you ever reach across the aisle and have relationships? I say across the aisle. That sounds political. Do you ever reach out to people that are just the opposite of you and try to have a relationship with them?
Yeah, Some of my best friends
I've done
are.
that too, you know. As much as I'm frustrated with Senator Jeff Golden, he and I have done shows together, you know. I mean, we couldn't be more polar opposites.
You'll shoot each other and shake your hand.
Yeah, no, we'll figure out which one drives the other one to the hospital, you know. But I enjoy talking to him. He's fun to talk. And I've really enjoyed people you've given me who really don't fit the mold that I would be in, okay? Should we give that as an example to our children? You know, should we teach our children not to silo people young? In other words, and kids have a way of getting along with each other far better than adults do. Well, Elizabeth Hasselbeck talks about the being adventurous when it comes to teaching your kids about relationship, and she uses her personal friendship with Whoopi Goldberg as an example. Here's what she says.
I love to be adventurous and obedient to God. And The View, it was an example of that. Survivor was an example of that. I'll go. When it comes to relationships, we need to be adventurous in a way and trusting God in that. Whoopi and I love our friendship. We do not think the same way at all. We disagree on most things. The top things. We have sat and talked about the hardest word you could say. We have sat and talked about the topic of life and abortion. We do not hold the same position. We have looked at one another, and my position is based on obedience, but not experience. And so I honor the fact that she's had experience. Yeah. And our friendship is not hinged on whether I think something is sinful or not. Now, what I tell our kids is you can't be in a relationship and compromise what you believe is the word of God. And being obedient to that is key. But it means if you're confident enough in that you can have friends and be a light to them. Now, you need friends to lift you up as well and surround you with like absolute collaborative obedience to God, but you can't shun people who just think differently. And I actually think it's fun to have a relationship with someone who thinks differently than me. It's fun and challenging. I'm super curious. Like, tell me why you think the way you think. I think that's fascinating. You know, I spent the majority of my adult life interviewing, like you're doing now, and I think one of the best things is you really get to understand, get behind someone's lens. And I think you can spend a lot of time, like I call myself a recovering right-aholic. Like I played right field in softball. I wanted to be right about everything. I was working really hard. I was on the right side of the view table. I sat to the right of Barbara Walters. I was like right side politics. Like I thrived on being right. I love debating. I'm like, I'm going to show you how right I am about how wrong you are. You know, like that is how it rolled. But I will say it's better to be right with one another. God smiles on that than right about something. But I'll take it even further now. And we need to be right with God.
Yes.
And that allows us to be right with his people. You know what I mean? If you're trying to like just be right with people, you can end up like in the wrong direction. Yep. So I think relationship is key, but the vertical relationship precedes the horizontal. Absolutely. And then they both get to be harmonious. So like it's a joy to be friends with Whoopi Goldberg. It shocks people when I tell them, I'm like, she's actually one of my best friends. And when things come up in the world, she's probably my first or second call to be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Get that perspective.
Yeah.
I think there's much to learn there. Much to learn there. I think that I enjoy talking to people that I totally disagree with because I like to know why and how they come up with their thinking. I think there's something to learn from that.
Yeah, I mean, it challenges you.
It challenges you, yeah.
You try to understand the other side. And also, how are you ever going to minister to anyone if you're hanging out in your Bible study the whole time? Nothing against Bible studies, but, maybe step out sometimes and go out, have coffee with someone you disagree with.
I'm involved in some civic things here, and one of the things I'm involved in, when I first went on this, with this group, one of the people found out that I was the Christian broadcaster. Oh, you're one of those. That was the first thing they said out of their mouth. You're one of those. And I thought, I'm gonna see if I can win this person over. We're friends today.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear some of the conversations you've had.
Well, I just treat that person nicely.
Kill them with love.
Send them a little note on their birthday. You're old and I'm not. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
the right cleaning company matters. Choose Dust Plus Cleaning and Carpet Care, a family-owned company proudly serving Grants Pass and nearby communities for over 25 years. We're passionate about delivering the best, whether it's carpets, using purified water for no window spots, or carefully washing solar panels. We're committed to superb customer service from start to finish. Radiant spaces from local professionals. Request a free quote today.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
I began to talk about divorce. It was my answer. In hindsight, I really lived in the darkness, and I didn't like the light that she represented. I said, God, I don't know if you're listening. I said, but if it's your desire for me to learn to love my wife, then I want to learn to love her like you love her and see her like you see her. And I said, amen. The next morning when I woke up, everything had changed.
Watch the 700 Club Tuesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
How y'all doing there on this sourdough loaf bread day? And that's not an April Fool's joke either. That's what the food is today.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, it takes some guts and a lot of prayers to stand behind the podium in the White House briefing room every day. And Caroline Leavitt is the new press secretary, the youngest in the history of that position. She sat down with CBN News David Brody recently and talked about her faith, her prayer life, and why prayer time before each briefing is so important.
My faith is incredibly important to me. I would argue now more than ever, being in a role that is very demanding and at times controversial, and there's a lot of public pressure and discussion online about who you are and your family, and it could be difficult for someone who doesn't have faith, but with faith, all things are possible. And my Catholic education was a pivotal part of my upbringing. It definitely teaches discipline, is something you learn in Catholic schools. And then I obviously went to a Catholic college as well, St. Anselm in New Hampshire, which not only drove my faith further, but also introduced me to the world of politics and news.
You guys are praying before those prayer briefings. That's my understanding. Those prayer briefings, those press briefings.
They are prayer briefings.
Yeah, they are. Well, tell me about them.
Well, before briefings, it's a little bit chaotic and overwhelming because there's so much news to consume. And so all morning long, my team and I are prepping. And, I feel like sometimes an internal investigative reporter going around to all the policy experts and whomever in the building, including the president himself, to get his take on the news of the day before we go out. So I think that team prayer before is just a moment to be silent and still and ask God for confidence and the ability to articulate my words, knowledge, prayer, protection. And it is a nice moment to reset. It's the last thing I do before I go out there. And then it just gives me the confidence to do a briefing.
It's warfare out there. In Christian terms, people will call what's happening in our country today spiritual warfare. Yeah. Do you see it in those terms, kind of good versus evil out there, and that context? How do you see that?
I certainly believe in spiritual warfare, and I think I saw it firsthand, especially throughout the campaign trail with President Trump. And I think there certainly were evil forces, and I think that the president was saved by the grace of God on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, and he's in this moment for a reason. We're all here for a reason, and I think it's a miraculous thing that has taken place in our country.
Well, I have watched her perform. She is really sharp, really sharp. Well, I take with you Hebrews 12:2. Let us keep our eyes on Jesus, the source and the goal of our faith. It was by faith that he looked past his own suffering to the joy of seeing us in heaven with him. Hebrews 12:2. Beautiful scripture.
with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828. 71.5 Golf Challenge arrives Saturday, May 17th with a 4-person scramble, morning and afternoon shotguns, and a 6:30 award social. Register your team to win by April 1st for our early bird special. Score the team player pack for just $20 instead of $100 with code EARLYBIRDIE. Become a sponsor and help thousands of kids across Southern Oregon. Visit 715.org or call 541-779-3275 today. Remember, at the 71.5 Golf Challenge, your drive changes lives.
The Dove Spring Boost. Pray about helping us reach our $128,000 goal during our remodel. Thank you from the Dove.
Good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Pauline is here today with me. And Jerry Bilden is doing better. We call him Broken Bilden. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he broke his leg skiing the first day of spring vacation. He's doing better. Everything's fine. Chit-chatted with him. He's doing the weather. Who knows? He could come hobbling through the door one of these days here.
Figure it out.
I think
he won't be able to stay home.
Yeah,
poor guy.
He'll be okay. Anyway, good morning to you. Today is a funny day. It's where everybody's going to make a joke and then say,
April Fools.
April Fools.
It is a celebration of harmless pranks and playful shenanigans. Hopefully they're harmless and playful.
Yes.
So lighthearted jokes, silly surprises, go for it. I don't know about you. Do you like surprises? Do you like jokes?
Well, you know, I do plenty of them.
I know you do, but do you like when people do them to you?
Yeah, why not? You gotta try to learn from them. Maybe I can turn around and use them on somebody else.
I'm not a surprise person. I'm like, let's just straight. Maybe it's a translation thing. By the time I get the joke, it's too late. All right, it's also National 1 Cent Day, so we're celebrating the penny today. The United States issued its first 1 cent coin in 1787, designed by Benjamin Franklin. And it was made of pure copper, larger than today's penny, and carried the message, mind your business, and we are one. Since 1909, the penny has featured Abraham Lincoln on it, honoring his legacy. And now it's going to be not produced anymore. So I was going to look it up, and I forgot when will be the last time the pennies are
So they're
made.
just going to start rounding things out? I wonder how they're going to do that. You just round things out to a nickel?
Mm-hmm.
Probably so, huh? So we just round everything up to a nickel?
How many people leave the pennies there? They don't even pick them up?
A lot do. You know, you always had a little jar next to a cash register. But I'm just wondering if our...
Stores like Walmart and a lot of the stores, they do their prices in $8.99 or $8.88, and they'll probably have to figure out how to do
Well, it's interesting. 88, I did a marketing study on 88, and when marketers went from 99 to 88, they sold more goods. 88 was, in fact, if you ever watch, you know who really does this really well to a point to it drives you crazy? Mike Lindell.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever watched Mike Lindell with all of his products?
No.
I've interviewed Mike, and I've been with him on a couple of occasions.
But
He's a crazy guy. But he'll say, oh, you can get the sheets now. We're on sale now for $19.88. It's always 88. Well, he uses 88 because it's one of the great marketing tools, but sooner or later you wear it out.
Yeah.
You know. So I don't know. It'd be interesting if the culture is going to round everything
Well, that's
off
what
to a
Walmart has. Their numbers are all end at 88.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. You're right. That's a good point. What happens now when you have to pay for something? Are you shortchanging them, or are they going to be giving you extra pennies? We'll see. And finally, the most important holiday we're celebrating today is the National Sourdough Bread Day. This deliciously tangy loaf has been a staple since ancient Egypt and became iconic during the California Gold Rush. San Francisco still claims the best sourdough around thanks to its unique wild yeast. So whether it's toasted with butter or paired with a hearty stew, it's the perfect comfort food to celebrate today, especially since the weather is going to be on the rainy side, right, here in Oregon. So enjoy some of that bread.
Our own Anna Chase is queen of sourdough loaf making. And she makes this sourdough. I don't know how she does it, but every loaf turns out perfect.
Yes.
And I love it.
It's a talent.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Beautiful, tasty talent. Do you like it toasted or just?
Yeah, well, I like it toasted. I've had it. I like it both ways, but toasted is always kind of good because like a little extra crunch to it. You know, that's good. Well, listen, it's supposed to be 85 today. Well, okay, April Fools.
Not in Oregon.
Here's Jerry. He'll tell you the truth.
Seasonably cool and showery conditions will continue until a period of drying moves in after midweek. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly cloudy, then a slight chance of showers with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with a chance of showers near 56 in Salem, a chance of showers with highs near 55 for Albany and Corvallis, showers likely near 54 in Eugene. In Central Oregon, a slight chance of rain and snow in near 50 in Prineville, a chance of snow in mid-40s in Bend, snow likely in near 43 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, decrease in clouds with a high near 52. Showers along the Oregon coast with daytime highs in the low to mid-50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings. Showers and breezy in low 50s in Crescent City, California, with gusts up to 34 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, showers with daytime high temperatures near 53 in Grants Pass and Medford and 49 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers breezy in low to mid-40s. Into northern California, rain and snow, then rain in upper 40s in Wairika. Showers with the possibility of thunderstorms and breezy with highs in the upper 50s to low 60s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento. In the Bay Area, rain with the chance of thunderstorms between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. with daytime highs in the upper 50s for Santa Rosa, Napa, San Francisco, and San Jose, with a west wind gusting up to 29 miles per hour. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Hi, good morning to you. For those watching on the Dove Radio, this is a picture of Mount Ashland. A little bit of fog up there. They got a lot of snow over the last several days. They got close to 8 inches in the last 24 hours. So you can tell there by looking at the parking lot, it's snowed in. And they're working on an amazing year. And with the 2 extra weekends being allotted this season, it's possible this will be their busiest year ever. But today the mountain, tomorrow the mountain will be closed, and they'll be grooming it. Plenty of snow. Our own Jerry Bildon's looking at that with mixed emotions. Jerry. And I'm kind of curious to find out where up there he went down.
I'm sure he can point exactly the place.
He'll point him down. So pray for Jerry. He's doing okay. He's doing okay. I don't know if he's in the frustration stage yet.
Oh, he's going through those stages of grief.
Well, he's going through the stage where
shock.
He's really enjoying the medication.
No, That one was not part. But remember that circle, anger, the shock, and then you go into acceptance.
Okay, the first one is shock and awe. The second one is...
anger and blame?
No. It's negotiation. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. And then you get anger. And then after anger comes depression.
Okay.
And then you cycle back through all that again.
Okay, all right. Well, and somewhere in
those
between
are the cycles you go through in a PTSD moment. That was his. Especially a skier like him. And that was the first day of spring vacation. They were going to ski that whole week. So anyway, but he's got a great family. They're loving on him. And even the trail babes took him some food.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. All right. Well, did you know that there are 3,000 or so promises that God has made to the believers? Here's Pastor Greg Laurie taking a look at some of them.
Have you ever had a promise made to you that was broken? Or maybe you made a promise to someone else that you broke? Well, I've got good news for you. When God makes a promise, you can take it to the bank. Every time you see a rainbow, it's a reminder that God keeps his promises, because the rainbow was given as a symbol of a covenant he made with mankind to never judge us again by water. And the Bible is filled with promises to believers. Someone said that there's at least 3,000 specific promises given to Christians in the Bible. Here's a few of them. God promises that he will forgive you of your sins. 1 John 1:9 says, if we will confess our sin, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sin and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Now that's an amazing promise. The Bible tells us that God will completely change us, because we're told in 2 Corinthians, if any man be in Christ, he is an altogether different kind of person. The old things have passed away, and behold, everything becomes fresh and new. God has promised to provide our needs. Jesus said, don't be like the non-believers. All they worry about is what they're going to eat, what they're going to drink, what they're going to wear. He said, but seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Let me add one more. Jesus promised he will come again. Jesus said, I will come again. He could come at any moment. So we want to always be watching, and we want to always be ready. But just remember this, God keeps his promises.
He does. All right, good stuff. Thank you, Pastor Laurie. All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. And it's kind of interesting, as you know, Doge being what it is and uncovering all kinds of fraud and waste in all these agencies. A lot of people coming unglued, but he wants to save $1 trillion. He's really close to doing it. And I don't know how they calculate this forward, whether they stop the fraud, recover some of the fraud, whatever it is. But anyway, he's trying to save the government $1 trillion. That's a third of the debt. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, he's starting to circle back on what I was wondering, when are they going to start tracing the kickbacks? If there's all this fraud and waste out there, who was getting the kickback? Well, now he's looking at members of Congress. How did they come in at one financial level and leave at another, which is significantly higher, which clearly suggests that their coffers are being filled with money from what and who and how. And here's what he had to say about it.
Let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while how they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year? It sounds, nobody can explain that. So something's, we're going to try to figure it out and certainly stop it from happening.
Well,
you know,
follow the money.
There's another, so he was holding a town hall, if I recognize the setting, in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin. He came up with a piece of cheese on his head.
Yeah, because they, is that where they're having their election today? Wisconsin? They're doing the election that actually can change the balance in the House. Well, anyway, he also talked about Social Security and what's happening there and shared some of the numbers, how illegals are getting Social Security cards and how it's impacting your benefits. I'm going to play that tomorrow because that reminded me. That was another line of staggering statistics. But going back to the original story, it is fascinating to finally see, or at least anticipation of seeing, where is the money going? Where are the kickbacks? Because someone is running all these schemes, and what's the benefit for someone to do it unless they're benefiting?
Well, they have a thing called the FEC, which is the Federal Elections Commission, which is supposedly monitors money coming into financial coffers and going out. And that has a lot to do with who was in office. And when the Democrats were in office, they would use the FEC as a means to go after their opponents to make sure that they weren't misspending the money. Okay, and you saw all the time, well, you did this and that wasn't qualified, and yet they were doing it all along. So how does somebody become a bartender, becoming a member of Congress, and overnight's a millionaire? AOC. How does that happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, even Nancy Pelosi, you know, she's been there for a long time, and you calculate her salary, it just doesn't add up. Something else is going on, and I get it. People invest, and they have real estate, and they have stocks.
Well, and that was the other side. Inside stock trading is a big issue. I don't know. Listen, this all sounds very conspiratorial. The problem is that we know that shenanigans are going on, and he's now going to start following the money, so we'll see what happens. All right, the other story that popped up yesterday is, in spite of all of the wrangling going on between a judge and the president over deportation, deportation is still continuing. They have now transferred 17 of some of the worst people on earth, MS-13 members and other members of people that are considered terrorist organizations, moved them from Guantanamo Bay in Cuba to El Salvador. And El Salvador is welcoming them, and here they are. This tells me that all the stays from the court are being appealed, and everything is just kind of hanging out there, nothing final yet. But this is the worst of the worst, and they're being exported back to El Salvador. And Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, comments and said, well, now we are making America more safe by getting these people off our streets, which is true. So I don't know. That's continuing to happen. This next story is so interesting to me because Bill Maher, now look, he can be a pretty smart-mouth comedian. He's pretty liberal, okay? But this shows me that the left really is falling apart. He went after PBS and public television and said they are the radical left and they should be defunded. And here's what he had to say.
Well, a little background here. I mean, they've been after them the Republicans have wanted to get rid of PBS for as long as I can remember. This crowd will probably do it. I mean, I also read my namesake, Catherine Maher, was head of NPR, and, you know, she said, we're completely unbiased. Give me a break, lady. I mean, they're crazy far left. So, I mean, I think we're past, my view, we're past the age, really, where the government, first of all, why do we need to subsidize? Why can't we have outlets like this? And we're so polarized. These outlets became popular at a time when Republicans and Democrats didn't hate each other and weren't at each other's throats and didn't think each other was an existential threat. In that world, you can't have places like this, I think, anymore. They have to be private.
So what he's saying is, what's really weird, he's calling his own party radical left. So, and he's been out there himself, but now that just shows you the further divide in the left. Number two is, he's making a really good point. It's time, if they are so good at what they do, then let them find the support on their own. They shouldn't be subsidized by government. Oh, only 1% or 16%. That is not true. They get these grants to do all these other things. So the point being is, I think PBS, NPR, all that, don't get me wrong, there's some great programming over there. There's some great people over there. But for the most part, it's public, and if it's so good, then let them go out and do it the way the rest of us broadcasters do, and that's find support.
Yeah, and you know, there's a debate whether there should be any state-funded media. Now, we have Voice of America, for example, which is an organization supported by the United States, but the purpose of that one is to broadcast internationally and to create a positive image of the United States abroad. You know, slightly different message. However, again, you can start going down, probably looking into the content of that organization, and that's why President Trump is thinking about dismantling that one as well. But for years, I mean, the reason I thought about that, because during the Cold War, Voice of America did serve a purpose, and it was subsidized, but that's how we in Soviet Union would learn about America. But NPR and PBS are broadcasting back to the American people what they should be thinking when American people know well what's going on.
They do.
Times have changed, and the bias is obvious.
I think you're going to see it defunded. I think you're going to see Planned Parenthood defunded. These things they're now no longer a theory of something we ought to consider. It's being done. I don't know where this is going to end up. I do think this, it's my own personal thinking on it as I look long-term down the road as a broadcaster, that this could change the classification within the FCC with frequencies. That's high-tech talk, I understand that, but I think this will be a game changer long-term inside the FCC if they actually defund it. So we'll see. Okay. The other story is tomorrow, not today. The president was going to do it today, but he decided he didn't want to do it on April Fool's Day, so he's decided to take Liberation Day and make it tomorrow, and he's going to announce all kinds of adjusting tariffs worldwide. In addition to that, basically he's looking for reciprocating tariffs. You charge us 10%, we'll charge you 10%. You charge us 5%, we'll charge you 5%. And I think this is an attempt to equalize trade. We'll see if it can be done. I mean, the theory is obviously a fair trade. If you're going to have fair trade, we'll charge you whatever you're charging us. Okay, you charge us less, we'll charge you less. So that's going to put America first business-wise. Then in addition, tomorrow, I think you're going to hear no tax on tips. We're going to take away taxes on Social Security, which is an amazing one. That's going to be huge for adults, or seniors. Then you're going to have, what's the other one?
The American-made cars.
American-made cars, if you finance it, the interest on that loan will be deductible. And I think you'll see some other surprises in there. So tomorrow's going to be a Liberation Day. He's calling it the Great Liberation Day. So that's tomorrow's headlines. Now, in Bible prophecy, Bible calls that prophecy, where you foretell history.
Today we're going to call you a prophet.
No, I'm not a prophet or the son of one. I'm just telling you tomorrow's headline is going to be this story.
Okay, prophet Terry.
Okay, the last time I prophesied, I got stoned to death. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
Looking to find loyal, reliable customers to grow your business? theDove is a perfect place to reach them. Hello, I'm Nancy Worth, Vice President of Marketing and Sales at theDove. theDove, reaching over 6 million consumers on a daily basis. theDove offers a faithful audience who will appreciate and remember your partnership. Partner with theDove and watch your business flourish. Sound good? Find out more. Call or email me, Nancy Worth, at theDove today.
Good morning. How you doing out there?
Good. How are you?
Happy April Fool's Day. You gonna play a prank on somebody today?
No, but we should have announced like a reality show on the Dove.
Oh, reality show.
Something.
What would it be? What would we be reality-ing?
I don't know. We need to think about something creative and start taking applications today, April Fool.
Could we come up with a new Christian game show?
Probably. But in order for it to
name that fool.
Mm-hmm, in order for it to be more exciting, it has to have a twist. I'll think about it. Yeah, let's think. Let's see what's happening in the regional headlines.
Okay, a big regional headline story. I didn't know this actually existed. I remember reading about it quite some time ago, but it never registered in my brain until it popped up. And that is apparently the southwestern portion of Oregon has quite the potential for lithium mining. And the Trump administration appears to be fast-tracking an Australian company's lithium project in southeastern Oregon. And this is big, takes in thousands of acres. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management Wednesday published its environmental assessment of this program. And if you didn't, it was 103 pages. If you didn't respond by yesterday, too bad. Yesterday was the deadline to respond and to give public input. I don't know where this is going to go, but if they're going to start mining lithium in southeastern Oregon, I can't help but think that this is just going to unleash all kinds of issues and people and lawsuits and everything else. But apparently this administration, as you well know, is after all kinds of minerals. And if Oregon is rich with lithium, why not take a look at this? I don't know where it's going to go, but that's on the table. And we'll see if the Trump administration wins that one. And a little other side note, if you have stud tires on your car, they have to be off by today, actually before today. So if you start driving around and you haven't taken your studded tires off, you're going to get caught and get fined.
And get in trouble, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a warning on that.
You should, yeah. I don't know when you use them. I guess you mentioned on ice, so if you have to travel, you may still have them on. But
yeah,
people already have them off.
Yeah, people have them on during winter months, and so anyway, this is the day in Oregon you have to have them off. All right, let's take a look at Wall Street for a April Fool's Day, and these are real numbers, not April Fool numbers. Thank you, Preston, over there at Smart Lawn. And the Dow's off 225 points. The Nas is off 32 points. And the S&P down almost 19 points. I don't know if this is anticipation of tomorrow's Liberation Day. I don't know.
Tomorrow, it may all be green. Well, maybe Thursday.
It could be. So right now, it's not happy. Part of that, I think, is the deportation. That did push gold up to 31.63. That's a big number. Look at that. Silver's down, but still up, $34.50. And boy, crude oil jumped up $2. $75.08 a barrel. I noticed that driving in this morning. $4 something a gallon. That's pretty bad.
I'm just impressed with your curiosity when it comes to gas prices.
Well, to me, now I want to give the president some slack here. I mean, you don't make these changes and have instant results. I've been thinking that second quarter we'll start to see the effects of all these changes. But if you really want to improve the economy, if you really want to give this all stuff a green light and get it going again, you got to lower the price of energy. That's the number one thing that makes it all work.
You start digging, right? You start producing your own. How do you lower the price of energy?
Drill, I guess.
So that takes time.
Yeah, that takes time. He's going to put tariffs on oil, and they'll put tariffs on oil and all that. So that war is going on. But if we can get back to where we were in his first administration of being self-sufficient in our own energy, and those prices start to come down, our economy will go through the roof. But the first key to driving the economy is the price of energy. It affects everything and everybody. So there you go.
All right, well, the transgender issue has become an issue, and different bills are moving through state legislations here and there, and one just passed the House in New Hampshire, thanks to people like Representative Jonah Wheeler, who's a Democrat, but he voted for this bill to basically, to kind of unpack it, it would allow for people to be classified by their biological gender, surprise, surprise, in certain circumstances, like the gym or bathroom or prison. So what I found fascinating is the speech he gave on the floor of the House. Here's Jonah Willer.
Mr. Speaker, the powerful anecdotes of one person and the consent of one person cannot stand for the consent of another person. And if there are women who feel unsafe, if there are women who feel like their space has become not private, then we should listen to those women. And just because a small segment of the population would like those policies to accommodate them over women doesn't mean that we here today can do that. So, Mr. Speaker, for us, and I pause because my colleagues are walking out as I give this speech. People are clapping in the gallery for their walking out. And Mr. Speaker, I think that illustrates exactly why I got up here today. I could have quietly voted my conscience, could have followed the party line, but Mr. Speaker, again, the consent of one person cannot stand for the consent of another. And just because one person is comfortable with a transgender woman being in the bathroom with them or playing sports with them or being in a prison with them doesn't mean that another woman is. And these issues do not have to cause violence. These conversations can be nuanced, and we can have conversations about treating each other with respect and humanity, and putting in place policies that say that women who were born women deserve a space to themselves, whether that be the bathroom or sports or the locker room or prisons, is not transphobic. The orthodoxy of the Democratic Party on this issue has left us to where we can't have nuanced discussions, and women are being silenced in this conversation. As much as people don't want to hear that, that is what is happening.
Wow. I wonder if he'll be ousted from his group now. I wonder if the caucus of that New Hampshire Democratic caucus will allow him to sit in the meetings.
You know, I haven't seen the roster of who voted pro. I mean, I'm guessing there may be some others who join him, because he did say that some people will vote alongside me. They just don't speak out. But isn't it interesting how in our day and age of information everywhere, and in the country that so values freedom of expression and freedom of speech, we are punished for asking questions, whether you're on the right or the left. You start having discussion, you start questioning, why are we in this war? Or why are we supporting this cause? Or right away, you're a bigot, you're racist, you're a homophobe, you're this phobe. And just the whole art of asking questions is being demonized.
Yeah.
The curiosity.
Well, again, that's the antithesis to free speech. And free speech is only free if you're saying it the way I want you to say it. If you don't say it the way I want to say it, then you don't have a right to say it. I mean, that's the the irony of this issue. But you make a great point. I don't know.
That's something I think for all of us, because I think we Christians are guilty as well. Someone questions any belief we have, whether it has to do with Israel or rapture or sin or whatever, and right away, you're this, you're that, labels.
Yeah, I made a comment about 3 weeks ago about something.
Yeah? Did you get stoned?
It was a tongue-in-cheek. I was just poking it, only because, you know, look, I'm not a theologian by any means. I've gone to Bible school a little bit, and I, you know, learned how to ask some good questions. And I made a little slide remark. Oh, man, when I got off the air, I had like 6 emails that just pretty much put me in hell. Like, I'm not a Christian. You have no business being on the air. You're a divider. You're this, you're that. Oh, really? Over one comment? I guess. I mean, so I don't know. We're uptight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need to have more chill pills or something, you know.
More sourdough bread.
More sourdough bread, the great
That's
comfort
the
food. Maybe, yeah, let's do that. All right, we're going to go get a piece. We'll be right back.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
Life is complicated enough. Why worry about what to do with your extra car? Skip the costs of maintaining it, storing it, insuring it, or renewing registration. Car repairs? Forget about it. Here's one easy solution to your car problem. Donate it to our station. It's fast, free, tax deductible, and if you donate, you're going to feel incredible knowing you're supporting quality programming. Interested? Just call this toll-free number or donate online. Thank you.
You might have said, as many people have said to me, Alex, it's too late. I've wasted years. I'm too far gone. Please don't believe that lie. You can call out to Christ. He will hear you. He will receive you. He has a plan for you. You might have a short time left in this world, you think. God still has a plan for you. And today, God's will for your life will become operative as you turn to Him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Fool's Day.
Tuesday.
Happy April Fool's Day. Well, let's check in with CBN Newswatch because there's a whole lot going on in the Middle East and we need to get caught up.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. A busy Tuesday. Let's begin this half hour in the Middle East where tensions are rising between Iran, Israel, and the United States. Threats are flying. At the same time, Israel continues to try to negotiate a hostage ceasefire deal with Hamas. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more now. She's reporting from Jerusalem.
Iran is ramping up the rhetoric and threatening U.S. forces in the region.
The Americans have at least 10 bases and 50,000 forces near Iran. This means they are sitting in a glass room. Someone sitting in a glass room would not throw rocks at others.
Iran's supreme leader promised retaliation after Trump threatened to attack Iran if they don't agree to a nuclear deal.
But if they do, they will definitely receive a firm reciprocal blow.
He also called for the destruction of Israel.
It's a religious, moral, and human duty for everyone to work toward removing this wicked criminal entity from the region.
Despite all the tough talk, Trump's still holding out hope Iran is going to come around.
I can't imagine them doing anything else but making a deal. I would prefer a deal to the other alternative, which I think everybody in this plane knows what that is. And that's not going to be pretty, and I do not prefer that.
Ben Cohen of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy says Iran has so much uranium ready to go into nuclear bombs, Israel and the U.S. can't just sit by.
You've got a situation now where Iran has about 275 kilograms of weapons-grade enriched uranium. That is very risky. And so, yes, of course, every day that goes by without some kind of diplomatic resolution whereby Iran effectively surrenders its nuclear facilities and its nuclear program, every day that doesn't happen, we get closer to a military strike.
Monday, Trump announced details of an upcoming trip to the Middle East.
It could be next month, maybe a little bit later, yeah. And We're going to Qatar, and also we're going to possibly a couple of other countries. UAE is very important, and Saudi Arabia, the three of them, and then we'll go other places also. But in the Middle East, those seem to be the three.
Meanwhile, Israel and Hamas are trying to work out a new ceasefire deal. Israel is demanding 11 more hostages, but Hamas is offering only 5. The Israeli military is continuing to expand its operations against Hamas as negotiations continue. The IDF warns civilians in Rafah to flee before it hits targets there. Some civilians have just plain had it with the war.
We are dying. There is no food, no drink, no electricity, no medicine. People are being displaced. Where do we go?
On Monday, the IDF said it had destroyed a more than half-mile Hamas tunnel route and located a workshop for producing rockets and launchers. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem for a closer look at all the unfolding issues. So, Chris, what are some of the terms being discussed in the hostage negotiations?
Well, Ephraim, some of the terms on the Israeli side is Israel is proposing a 40 to 50-day truce to release about half of the remaining hostages, that would both living and dead. Prime Minister Netanyahu emphasizes during the negotiations that he wants to keep on the military pressure on Hamas while the talks go on. They also insist on Hamas disarming. On the other side, Hamas is saying they will agree, as Julie said in her report, 5 living Israeli hostages and also Idan Alexander, an Israeli American. They're calling for a 50-day ceasefire and a release of more Palestinian prisoners and a facilitation of aid back into Gaza. And also on the Israeli side, to put more pressure on Hamas, Israel plans to take up to 25% of Gaza territory. Now, that's probably a real game changer for Hamas, who sees that territory as their lifeblood and the way they can remain in power.
Chris, what is the most recent threat from Iran if the U.S. does attack?
Well, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader says, if you attack, we'll just go ahead and make a nuclear weapon. It's kind of ironic. They say that they don't want a nuclear weapon. They say there's a fatwa against it, and they're going along with the IAEA, the UN Atomic Agency. But it doesn't seem to ring true for many people looking at Iran right now. The major question, I think, Ephraim, and it was reported there in Julie's story, are they weaponizing uranium now? And a long time, for years, they've been enriching uranium, but weaponizing uranium takes it to a whole new level. And so where many people ask where we are now, where the stakes are quite high, closer to U.S. military action, and the time for diplomacy is closing, and the time when Israel and perhaps the U.S. Take action to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, which would give Iran a nuclear umbrella over the entire Middle East and Israel. Right now, Israel seems to be waiting for the U.S. diplomatic process to go through and for President Trump to continue his diplomacy and trying to get Iran to the negotiating table. It doesn't seem to be working, but that threat of military action is out there right now so Iran has to consider that right now. It's very, very serious for both sides.
Okay, we'll see. Keep an eye on it. All right, good morning to you. 20 minutes before the hour. Let's check in with Jerry for the weather.
Seasonably cool and showery conditions will continue until a period of drying moves in after midweek. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly cloudy, then a slight chance of showers with daytime high temperatures in the mid-50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with a chance of showers near 56 in Salem, a chance of showers with highs near 55 for Albany and Corvallis, showers likely near 54 in Eugene. In Central Oregon, a slight chance of rain and snow in near 50 in Prineville, a chance of snow in mid-40s in Bend, snow likely in near 43 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, decrease in clouds with a high near 52. Showers along the Oregon coast with daytime highs in the low to mid-50s for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings. Showers and breezy in low 50s in Crescent City, California, with gusts up to 34 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, showers with daytime high temperatures near 53 in Grants Pass and Medford and 49 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers, breezy, and low to mid-40s. Into Northern California, rain and snow, then rain in upper 40s in Wairika. Showers with the possibility of thunderstorms and breezy with highs in the upper 50s to low 60s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento. In the Bay Area, rain with the chance of thunderstorms between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. with daytime highs in the upper 50s for Santa Rosa, Napa, San Francisco, and San Jose, with a west wind gusting up to 29 miles per hour. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
All right, good morning to you. Again, a snapshot of Mount Ashland on this beautiful Tuesday. It's closed today, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but just to let you know, they've had about 8 inches of new snow in the last 24. That's a lot of snow. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at hundreds of inches through the year and even at the base. So they're trying to clear the parking lot. You can see the truck moving around there, but they'll be open on Thursday.
Well, the war between President Trump, his administration, and some of the judges continues when it comes to deportation of illegal aliens and terrorists. Some of the statistics, when you hear them, are staggering of the crime that's happening in our country today, and it just puts things in perspective. Here is FBI Director Kash Patel.
Right now, we have an American dying every 7 minutes from a drug overdose. That is a national security crisis we have not seen ever before. We have a woman or child being raped every 6.5 minutes in this country. We have a homicide twice an hour. No part of that metric is a safe and secure America. But thanks to the brave leadership of this administration and the folks that you see here, we are returning our communities to safety. My priority has been law enforcement across the country, and that will not change. But law enforcement across the country cannot be done just by Washington, D.C. and the federal government alone. This task force was stood up 1 month ago. In 1 month, the brave men and women on this task force from state, local, and federal authorities have arrested 342 criminals in the state of Virginia alone. We wanted this to be a successful model. It is a successful model because of you, because of your men and women on the streets. We have the easy job in Washington, D.C. You take it to the max every single day. You put your safety on the line. You put your selfless desires ahead of going home and seeing your families at night because you care more about safeguarding our schools and our community than you do your own safety. So we will always have the backs of good cops because you have the backs of the American people. And this task force is going to go everywhere it is needed across the United States to bring the form of justice and measured security and safety that our American citizens deserve. And we will not stop until this national security crisis is recognized, brought into check, and eliminated.
Okay, there's much to be said there. Those statistics actually put your brain on tilt. But let me tell you why. It's very political, and I don't mean to be. To me, it's a fact why Republicans will continue to win for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. This issue. Women want to feel safe. And when you hear a statistic that every minute and a half a woman's being raped, that is not safety. Mm-hmm. When you hear the statistic that somebody's breaking in, coming across the border and giving your kid fentanyl, that's not safety. And this issue will implode the Democrats, and especially these woke judges trying to justify bringing these crazy people back into our culture and setting them free. As long as they stay on this, and as long as they clean it up, and as long as they are arresting these people and deporting them, they will continue to win elections. That's my prediction.
Prophet Perry.
I don't know about that. We're just going to work our way into sourdough bread. We'll be right back.
Second piece.
We will see it with our own eyes. Out of this darkness, new light will shine.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life? Now's the time to call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This week on the John Ankerberg Show.
The polls of the Pew Research Center show that 4 in 10 Americans believe we are living in the last days. Further, they found out that 70% of evangelical Christians believe Christ could return during their lifetime. Where does the Bible talk about these things? Join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, had Ruthie Bloom on. By the way, thank you for getting me her. She used to be in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office. Now she is a chief editor with the Jewish News Syndicate out of Israel. Really quite the gal, in the know. We Skype her in live from Israel. We did this the other day. And all of the things we talk about. But I did ask her, in a way, is Iran kind of like a paper tiger? They're losing in Hamas. With Hamas in Gaza. They're knocked down pretty heavily with Hezbollah in Lebanon. You got the problems going on in Syria, but they took out all their military bases. You got the United States taking out Houthis over in Yemen. And now all eyes are on Iran. They've been hit very, very hard. And even some of their air bases have been knocked out by Jewish aircraft. Are they a paper tiger? Here's what she had to say.
Let's put it this way. We certainly hope so, but you can't bank on that. Not a total paper tiger, because if it were, then it wouldn't be necessary for all of these threats and preparing for war, et cetera. It wouldn't be. Right. What we do know is that Israel severely weakened Iran's air defense systems. And what does that mean? It means that flying over there to do anything, let's say, to bomb the nuclear facilities, becomes much, much easier because they have no ability to down our planes. And so I would say you need to take advantage of that. But to say they're a complete paper tiger, I wouldn't go that far. You know, regime change really should come from within and not from without, okay? So there's no point in, Israel or America trying to bring about regime change. What we know is that the Iranian people are extremely disgruntled. They have been protesting. Now, we've seen that many times before. Periodically, the protests erupt in Iran, and then the Ayatollah regime guns them down. Now, what's happening today, it looks more encouraging because it seems that they're getting more out of hand, those protests in Iran, than previously, making it more difficult to gun them all down. But again, we'll see. We don't know. I would look at that with cautious optimism, but it doesn't even matter. What matters is that together with, if we take out the nukes and also the sanctions that Trump says he's imposing on Iran, that helps the Iranian people become more angry because then their economy is terrible. You know, they're suffering also economically, you see. And then that helps them want to overthrow the regime for that reason, not just because the regime is so oppressive.
All right. Well, look, she's a live wire. Thank you for getting her.
You're welcome.
She
enjoys being on the show, and Ruthie's really easy. In fact, I had a cancellation last minute Sunday.
Yeah.
For someone who was supposed to be on air on Monday, and I just emailed Ruthie and I said, "Hey, can you join us?"
Well, she's
a lot going on.
she's in the know, and she knows how things are over there, and it's a reality check when we talk to her. When we have her on and Chris Mitchell, it's like the best of the best out of Israel.
Yeah.
So it's really good stuff all the way around. I'm going to have Tom Del Beccaro back on with us. He's former chairman of the Republican Party in California. We'll talk to him about that. He writes quite a few books. He's on a lot of the big shows. But we'll get a little bit of an update on what's going on down there with free speech in California. Is it still being allowed? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of free speech, someone who's speaking a lot these days on behalf of the president, gosh, they're always out in front of the cameras. Caroline Leavitt, the youngest press secretary in the history of the Post, she sat down with David Brody at CBN News and talked about her faith and the prayer time that she feels is so important before each briefing.
My faith is incredibly important to me. I would argue now more than ever, being in a role that is very demanding and at times controversial, and there's a lot of public pressure and discussion online about who you are and your family, and it could be difficult for someone who doesn't have faith, but with faith, all things are possible. And my Catholic education was a pivotal part of my upbringing. It definitely teaches discipline, is something you learn in Catholic schools. And then I obviously went to a Catholic college as well, St. Anselm in New Hampshire, which not only drove my faith further, but also introduced me to the world of politics and news.
You guys are praying before those prayer briefings. That's my understanding. Those prayer briefings, those press briefings.
They are prayer briefings.
Yeah, they are. Well, tell me about them.
Well, before briefings, it's a little bit chaotic and overwhelming because there's so much news to consume. And so all morning long, my team and I are prepping. And, I feel like sometimes an internal investigative reporter going around to all the policy experts and whomever in the building, including the president himself, to get his take on the news of the day before we go out. So I think that team prayer before is just a moment to be silent and still and ask God for confidence and the ability to articulate my words, knowledge, prayer, protection. And it is a nice moment to reset. It's the last thing I do before I go out there, and then it just gives me the confidence to do a briefing.
It's warfare out there. In Christian terms, people will call what's happening in our country today spiritual warfare. Do you see it in those terms, kind of good versus evil out there, and that context? How do you see that?
I certainly believe in spiritual warfare, and I think I saw it firsthand, especially throughout the campaign trail with President Trump. And I think there certainly were evil forces, and I think that the president was saved by the grace of God on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, and he's in this moment for a reason. We're all here for a reason, and I think it's a miraculous thing that has taken place in our country.
Listen, I watch her. Don't get me wrong, I think some of these have really been great, some of them have been really lousy, but there's something about her. She is an amazing young lady. She's not only in control of the room, she's in control of the content. And the White House now has announced that they are going to step in and make the assignments inside the newsroom, whereas before it came from some kind of a bureau, and she's not even going to go to that dinner that they have.
The White House correspondent?
Yeah, she's not even going to it because it ends up being a bashing show, and in some ways it's gotten kind of crude. But it looks like the White House is going to take over the press room and announce who's going to sit where.
Yeah.
And then rotate people through, which is kind of cool. Maybe you and I can go.
I would love to. I mean, that would be a great experience. Have you ever been to any you haven't been to press briefings in the White House?
No. No, I've been in that room. I just walked by and looked in it.
But just not for a briefing.
The closest I get to that is when we have John Gizzi on. Our good old friend John Gizzi.
It's hard to imagine doing that kind of job without faith and something to ground you, because you go there in the lion's den. And of course now it's a little more variety there, and you have friendlies in the room, but still you're constantly bombarded and questioned about the administration. And she so believes and lives that agenda that it's almost natural for her to speak about it.
It is. That's what's so amazing to me, is her control of the content is so good. She reminds me a little bit of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Sarah had that kind of demeanor to her and acumen to her, where she could sit there and take those questions and fire back,
Yeah, but Caroline has been with President Trump for several years, part of his campaign, and just really kind of what's the word, percolating in that agenda. So it's in her DNA in some way, but also she kind of mentioned in another interview that for the first briefing, she was so prepared. She had a binder this thick and she was ready with all the little sections, and then she realized it has to be in her heart and in her mind. Yes, she has those quick helps if she needs it, but it really has to come out of your heart.
Well, her predecessor under President Biden couldn't come up with anything, just read everything.
Yeah, the bar was set pretty low with Janine.
All right, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. This is a great scripture. It has a lot to do with this Passion Week that we're in, or at least this season of Lent. Let us keep our eyes on Jesus, the source and the goal of our faith. It was by faith that he looked past his own suffering to the joy of seeing us in heaven with him.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding incredible roads, exploring new sights and towns, and connecting with others and sharing our stories.
Sound good to you?
What are you waiting for? Let's create your custom tour, or join us on one of our upcoming tours.
The Lost Coast and Trinity Alps, May 16th through the 19th, or the Oregon Coast and Cascades Tour, June 22nd through the 26th. Just click the Tours tab at panoramicmototours.com or call 541-622-3844.
panoramicmototours.com. Your next adventure starts here.
Big ideas grow.
Are you struggling to find loyal customers to grow your business? The people you want are watching and listening to the Dove right now. Hello, I'm Perry Atkinson. You know, the Dove offers your business a loyal and faithful audience, a safe and positive media platform to be associated with, reaching over 6 million customers daily. Find faithful customers, partner with the Dove, and watch your business flourish. Find out more. Contact Nancy Worth, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at the Dove today.
Hello, my name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, seen right here on Dove TV. Some people say Wretched. That's a perfect name for the contents of the TV program I host. We call it Wretched because we understand we're wretched sinners in need of an amazing Savior, and we have one. Would you like to grow in your knowledge of Jesus Christ? We invite you to join us for Wretched.
We help the Dove with much needed equipment for our remodel. Pray about giving to our spring boost. Thank you from the Dove.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and so delighted to have with us today, always an honor and very timely, Tom Del Beccaro is back with us today, the author of his latest book called The Lessons of the American Civilization. Let me tell you, it's a short book, but a powerful book, and you may want to check that out. He is the former chairman of the California Republican Party. He's healed now. He's the author of 2 historical perspectives, The Divided Era and The New Conservative Paradigm. He's a columnist for Fox News, Fox Business, and Epoch Times, and the publisher of thepoliticalvanguard.com. And you can go to tomdell.com. That's his website, tomdell.com. Tom, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Always good to see you.
Thanks for your time. We honor it greatly. Hey, I'm just kind of curious. With your governor down there doing a podcast, is it backfiring?
Well, the great thing about Gavin Newsom is that he is so phony that everybody realizes what he's up to. No one takes him as, suddenly finding the light, of sincerity. So he's running for president. He's got to say things now that appeal to the country. The problem is, his record. And it's not a short record. It's not an accidental record. USA Today ranked California, are you ready? 50th in affordability and 50th in opportunity. California has had zero job growth since 2023 in the private sector. In fact, it's lost 176,000 jobs in that time. And the public sector has grown 180,000 jobs, but the private sector has actually shrunk. And then you throw in crime, then you throw in homelessness. You can just keep going and going. And so he's got a hard road to hoe if he's going to make it back.
How does he shake that?
Well, as you well know, in the Democrat Party, it's not what you do, it's what you say. And which is the opposite, really, of, that long-standing book you refer to known as the Bible.
Yeah, right.
He, as long as he takes the right positions, he's got a shot. And remember, you can expect at least 20 Democrats to run for president. And then you get on the stage. And then Iowa, who wins Iowa? Whoever gets 15% of the vote, right? So, plus, he remarkably is still popular in California. So they'll have a March primary, and that looms because he could pick up 500 plus delegates. And so they'll take him serious, which is not what happened with her to Harris, because she was so weak in the polls in California. They didn't take her seriously, and she dropped out of Iowa, which I predicted. I was the first in the country to predict she would drop out.
So I'm sure he sees himself, but does the DNC see him as the rising star?
Well, the DNC allows people to speak like that woman from Texas, that woman from Queens. We all know who I'm talking about. Yeah. So they don't stop people in this regard. There's a good deal of them who believe that you throw punches. That's how you get ahead. So they'll take whoever can win in their mind. Okay. And keep in mind, it's a long time in politics.
Yeah, it is. And then one other question along this vein, is Kamala the foreseen governor of California?
Well, the case for her running is that it's a big position, and the early polls show that she would clear the field. The case for her not running is that there's 3 tough jobs in politics: mayor, governor, and president. And you have to work. And she's averse to work, literally. So, and California is in deep trouble. So why would she take on a job where the results are going to be hard to find? So I say it's 50-50.
Does Nancy run, or does she bail?
Nancy
Pelosi.
Oh, for governor?
No, just for re-election.
Oh. She's still a very powerful fundraiser. But sooner or later, she's got to hang out with her grandkids like Barbara Boxer did. So I say if the polls look bad, she'll drop out.
Okay.
Meaning for other Democrats, not for her. She could get elected. The locust could come down on her district and they'd still elect her.
Tom, you can say those things and get away with it. The other thing, I'm just curious, how we just don't see anything in the news lately about the Southern California fires. Can you give us a reality check? What's going on down there?
The mayor, it turned out, was dishonest on TV. Karen Bass said, oh, no, this is going to happen quickly and yada, yada. No, they still haven't allowed them to clear these areas, these homes. 4 permits have been handed out. It's going to be years, and which is a big deal because that's a huge part of the state economy, LA. And so that's the reality of it. They are dragging this out. They're going to want to, they're not going to let them rebuild simply as it was, even though they said that as well. Obviously, there needs to be upgrades. In fact, that's the whole problem, is that there isn't sufficient firefighting infrastructure, whether it's the fire hydrants or fully funded department. So this is going to drag out. The Democrats lied about it, and hello. I mean, that's what you're seeing across the country. Look at Amy Klobuchar, who a while back I thought, well, maybe this person will be different. Going on TV in Wisconsin saying that we don't want Elon Musk deciding this. Yet 77% of the money in that court race is from out of state, from Soros and people like him. That's unbelievable that she would lie like that, but that's become the norm.
Wow. I want to come to the other topic at hand and kind of dealing with censorship. It still exists out there. It's just maybe under the covers a little bit. But censorship, not only in media, the consequences of it, how threatened do you think our free speech rights are these days?
Well, a lot less so than if Harris would have won, because she believed that government had a role in determining what information is good and bad, which is the very opposite of what our founders. In my book, The Lessons of the American Civilization, I say that dissent is the mother of democracy. And what I mean by that is your ability to say no to government, and I wrote about this in my recent Substack article, your ability to say no to government is the beginning of democracy. Because without that basic right, and of course this goes back many, many years, in the Magna Carta, you had the right to redress the government, or at least that was part of it. Now, not everybody did, but it was the start. And what does redress the government means? I mean, you say to the government, this isn't working out, you need to help us and change things. Of course, dictators don't allow you to do that. Look what Hamas did recently to beat someone who was redressing the government, beat him to death. So that if you don't have that, and where did it start in America? Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death, was a great example of that. In America today, the government is doing it much less so, but because of the size of the bureaucracy, the ability to do that remains limited. And, it's great that Trump is pushing back on these institutional things, but I'm concerned worldwide. Look what happened in France. You had a popular politician that was slated to win 2 years from now, it looked like, in people's minds, and she was banned from running and found guilty. Well, can we trust that verdict? Look what's happening in England, where the Magna Carta started. In England, you publish opinions online and you can be arrested. Same with Germany. These are huge mistakes. They're made by big government people who think they know what's better. And that is the dark signal for the world ahead. I'll remind people that the start of Christianity started with a person who disagreed with the establishment and said no. When he kicked over the table and otherwise, he said that this is not the way. And without that right, Christianity, he was, of course, crucified for disagreeing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand that lesson.
So in the meantime, there's something else happening in the United States that will impact free speech. That is the division within media itself. And you have now, under Doge, the possibility of the defunding of public television and radio. Do we really want state-run media? I don't know if you watched any of those hearings of Chairman Marr or President Marr in front of the committees there. It was just ridiculous. But the point being is, I'm just wondering, with the division in media, where that's going to lead as far as free speech is concerned in America, because it looks like America's just had enough of the baloney.
Yeah. Years ago, I want to say way back 2007, I wrote about division in the media, or maybe it was a little later in there in the Washington Times. It's normal for the media to be divided. At our founding, you had revolutionary writings and you had loyalist writings. Most of American history, you had that. So that's sort of normal. The difference, and why it's so concerning today in America, is how taxpayer funds are used to help one side. The New York Times recently made a sort of this offhanded admission about Trump pushing back on these things, whether it's USAID spending or the media and all these things. They said this will make it harder for Democrats to get elected. And that's the whole point. In politics, there's only one mathematical equation that matters, which is money equals power. The ability to dispense money is pure power. And if Trump takes this away from institutions like PBS and NPR, which regularly lie to Americans, then it makes it harder for the Democrats to get elected. That's better for free speech. But we shouldn't expect the media. I hate to say this, but if you look back at history, that the human beings have not specialized in objectivity.
Amen. All right, let me take a quick break, because I've been also kind of processing my next question for you on this topic. Let me say to our viewers and listeners a couple of things. Tom does have a website, tomdale.com. Tomdale.com. There's the picture of the landing page. And get a copy of his book. Look, this is it's a tool. It's a manual. It's called The Lessons of the American Civilization. There's a picture of the cover of the book. Get that online. We'll be right back.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
71.5 Golf Challenge arrives Saturday, May 17th, with a 4-person scramble, morning and afternoon shotguns, and a 6:30 award social. Register your team to win by April 1st for our early bird special. Score the team player pack for just $20 instead of $100 with code Early Birdie. Become a sponsor and help thousands of kids across Southern Oregon. Visit 715.org or call 541-779-3275 today. Remember, at the 71.5 Golf Challenge, your drive changes lives.
I began to talk about divorce. It was my answer. In hindsight, I really lived in the darkness, and I didn't like the light that she represented. I said, God, I don't know if you're listening. I said, but if it's your desire for me to learn to love my wife, then I want to learn to love her like you love her and see her like you see her. And I said, amen. The next morning when I woke up, everything had changed.
Watch the 700 Club Tuesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. An honor to have back with us Tom Del Baccaro's back with us, and check out his new book called The Lessons of American Civilization. This is a manual. It's a textbook. I think you'll find yourself writing in the margins. It's not long, but powerful. Check it out. And he has a website, tomdale.com. You can check that out as well. So a couple of quick questions here, Tom.
Perry, if I could really quickly, you said it was a manual. Chapter 13 is literally the top 10 lessons of the American civilization. They're 2 pages each, and they're expressly written so that people can read that, understand an issue, and be able to talk to others about not only what made America great, but how it works and how history speaks about certain issues so that you can discuss this with others. And also, I want to, as I told you, I think the last time when I spoke to Cardinal Dolan and he asked me about America, it's also so important for Americans to understand how important opportunity was. And I made the comparison to Christianity and its start. Christianity was an adoptive religion. It was not imposed at the outset. People took great risks, but by coming to it themselves and taking up this new religion and expressing their free will, think of what the power that involves and how it's changed world history. That same opportunity is what made America great as well. People came here for opportunity, and what big government does, and I said this also to Cardinal Dolan, which is a danger to the Catholic Church, is big government takes away your choices. You and I all remember when Milton Friedman did his free to choose.
Oh, yeah.
We need to remain free to choose whether it's the right to express free will, our religion, and in our government.
So beautifully said. So beautifully said. Thank you, Tom. Just one more question as it relates to free speech, censorship. How do we know where the line is from protecting free speech and regulating harmful misinformation?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I have over the decades argued that the most important election in American history was actually before the United States became formalized with the Constitution in 1789. It was the debate over whether to adopt the Constitution, which happened in the colonies. And the founders who went on to create the First Amendment, if you recall, that debate was much of it done in the pamphlet. They were pamphleteers at the time, did that debate anonymously. And you had the Federalists saying certain things, and you had anti-Federalists saying other things. And if we had a full session, I can tell you, meaning like weeks of class, we can talk about how some of what the founders said was not accurate, even for its time, and certainly what the anti-Federalists said was not accurate. Despite that, quote, misinformation, the founders went on to say with the First Amendment, shall not. So the issue is you must always err on the side of allowing speech. My good friend Trish Regan had one of my favorite comments of all time on this issue, which is the answer to bad speech is more speech.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that because, you know, we're looking at what Representative Crockett said about the governor. Texas AOC says wild things. Even Schumer, Senator Schumer has said things that were just downright threatening. Now, if you and I said that, we'd probably be censored out the door. But the point being is they said it. The Constitution allows them to say it, even though it was dangerous.
Yes, although the Constitution does not allow them to say that while they're sitting in Texas, they're still not allowed to libel people. But, Perry, I suggest that your listeners consider donating to those 3 people, because the more they talk, the more the Democrats' hopes sink.
Let me swing your attention to what's happening with district courts interrupting the president's agenda. What's your take on that one, Tom?
Well, I've asked people over the years, the three people in all of history that I would want to speak to, right? Obviously, Will Durant, who taught me how to think about history, obviously, Jesus Christ, and Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was incredibly smart and worldly, and his big fear was the courts taking power, assuming power. And keep in mind, a theme in my book that I write about is how power centralizes over time. The Supreme Court did it with Marbury versus Madison, and now you're seeing it dramatically so with these judges assuming this power, which was not what the founders intended. So we have to understand that dynamic. We have to understand that it would get worse, but the two ways to deal with this are simple. The Supreme Court makes a decision which limits their ability to do this, and or what you're seeing today, which is a vote in the House on a bill that will limit that, because the Congress has the right to regulate the courts, if you will. That will pass the House and die in the Senate and be a issue in the next election.
Okay. Do you think it eventually ends up at the Supreme Court?
Well, something like this will, but this is a different issue. It's not an issue on a substantive right for the people. It's an issue on the procedural right of the courts. And honestly, I can't make a prediction of what this court would do. I can tell you what Alito would do, Justice Thomas would do, but I'm not altogether sure of the others.
Okay, because to that point, did Chief Justice Roberts play his hand when he basically said impeaching a judge is not a good thing? Did he just send a signal that he's going to be on the side of a judge no matter how bad it is?
Well, here's a guy who said that Obamacare was legal. He called it constitutionally, called it a tax, yet it originated with the Senate. And anybody who's read the Constitution knows that all taxes must originate in the House. Mm-hmm. So there is warranted skepticism about Justice Roberts. Look, I understand his point of view that if you disagree with the judge, you shouldn't protest in front of their house. That's a risk to democracy. And every decision, look, this judge, by the way, unquestionably should not be hearing any of these cases. He has a clear political bent, and the canons of ethics, I've been an attorney 38 years, says that judges should avoid the appearance of impropriety. You know, his daughter is intense about this. He's intense, his wife. But at the end of the day, I understand why he said that. But if he voted not to do anything in this regard, it wouldn't shock me.
Okay, because this is pretty interesting. To that point, though, it appears that all of this issue, as it relates to this judge trying to interrupt deportation, is now tied up in the appeals process, because just the other day, 17 more people were deported to El Salvador. I don't know. Do you know where this thing lies? Because it's still happening in spite of the fact that he doesn't want it to happen.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Look, I think there should be a two-track thing here. I do think that they should continue to appeal and move forward with that. But I also think it's very important that I understand why a lot of Americans are confused. They came across illegally. Why can't they just be taken out? There are procedures there. I think they need to move quickly on streamlining a hearing process and changing the law in that regard. But this is going to be tied up in the courts. And look, there are even justices on the left who think this has gotten out of control, as you know.
See where this goes. Good to see you, friend. How you doing otherwise? How do you stay sane?
You know, if you saw the bruises on my head from banging my head against the wall. But hey, do you remember Casablanca when Rick asked Victor Laszlo why he continues to do this? And he says, you might as well ask me why I breathe.
Yeah.
And that's my answer, too.
Okay, good to see you. Thanks, Tom, for your time. We value it greatly. God bless you, my friend. Stay in the fight. We need you.
All right, see you soon.
Thank you.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
Okay, welcome back, and always a delight when we have time to sit down with Michael Letts. He's the founder and the president and CEO of Invest USA. He's an ordained minister and has spent over 30 years in law enforcement, experience under his belt. He's quite the guy. Michael is also the author of a book entitled Truth, Lies, and Control, Finding Hope in an Upside-Down World. There's a picture of the cover of that book. Pretty informative. He nails it. He has a couple of websites for you, investusa.org. That's one of them, investusa.org, and the other one is michaelletts.us, and that's Letts, michaelletts.us, and there's a picture of that landing page. Brother Michael, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Always a privilege to be with you, Perry. A lot going on, and keeps our life interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. I don't know when you're sleeping, but that's okay. We need you on the front line. Hey, I'm just kind of curious. They're still deporting people under this wrangling over the courts. Can you make this simple for us to understand?
Very, very simple. Judge Boasberg, who has no business even having jurisdiction, is questioning the provision of the Illegal Immigrants Act that allows the president to deport anyone immediately under the War Powers Act. That act says that if we are in a state of war, the president has the ability to do that. Now, to give you the president's side, he has declared those organizations as terrorist organizations, which means we are at a state of war. However, the judge is saying if we are at a state of war, there had to be a declaration of war. Only Congress can declare war. So where is the declaration of war? If you look at the provision says that the judicial does not have any review over the matter. It's at the sole discretion of the commander-in-chief. But this is the judge's position. Prove to me that we are at a state of war by having a declaration of war before you use that particular act. Now, why are they still deporting them? Because the second provision, which has always existed, is the president has the right to deport illegal immigrants, period. However, there is a process. if you come in and ask for asylum, you either have to be granted a date or you have to have a hearing and been denied. Now, in the cases that you see where they are continuing to move people out, they've already had their hearings. They had them years ago under the Biden administration. They were denied asylum, ordered to be deported, but nobody ever did it. The Biden administration had no interest in deporting them. So what the president is doing, we're continuing to see deportations. Those people have already been ordered to leave. That is not in violation of this other judge's order, or is it in question of the War Powers Act? It's not. It's totally different. So you see what's going on there. That's how they're operating under two different spheres. Of course, the president's position is, I shouldn't have to be operating under two different spheres. I'm the commander-in-chief. I should do it the way I want to do it. The Illegal Immigrants Act, the War Power Act, allows him to move them immediately. The other provision provides them a hearing first. Of course, here's where they're running into problems. Under the previous administration, the Biden administration, they allowed you to stay in this country until your hearing. You remember in the prior administration under Trump and under this current Trump administration, he has a stay in Mexico. In other words, you can't stay, just wait for your hearing. You have to stay some other place till your hearing is called. So either way, they're going to be deported.
So in the meantime, this has been appealed. So that's the open door for him to keep going?
Correct. Well, remember, it's being appealed on the War Powers Act. That can go on forever. He can still deport as many people who have already been denied asylum and are just still sitting here because Biden refused to move them out.
Where do you think this is going to go, Michael?
Well, I think the Supreme Court has to do one or two things. Either rule in as rogue judges, or I believe the administration will do so for them. Quite frankly, there is always a possibility. People get all upset when you say this, but it's a fact, Perry. We could just ignore lower court rulings. The Constitution only provides for a Supreme Court that allows the Supreme Court and Congress to be able to appoint lower courts to make decisions, but it never gives them the authority in a lower court to make a national decision. That's what they're doing now. They're clearly violating it. And so the president can just simply say, I'm going to ignore those rulings, and you send them all to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court make them decide. In the meantime, we're going to continue to do what's best to protect the American people.
So there's one other point to this that's kind of interesting. As you well know, President Biden was told by the Supreme Court not to forgive those student loans, and he went ahead and did it anyway, and nothing came of it. Now, the only reason I bring that up, a lot of people use that as a comparison, but there's something in play here that's serious, and it's called the precedence of law. Yes. And if they don't stop this, it sets a precedence, and I think that's where we need to be serious about what we're doing here.
Well, there's no question, and I think what you're going to find, Perry, people have asked me quite often, how does this get resolved? You know, we know for a fact, Perry, that we have great corruption within our elected officials. We have corruption within the judiciary. The Department of Justice knows about it. We have the evidence. It's time we start issuing indictments and start holding people accountable. I think when you see that, you'll see a different attitude of flexing their muscle to see who's in control once they understand that we're going to hold people accountable for their actions.
Okay. How big of a catch was this MS-13 leader up there in Virginia?
He was third in authority in the country. We have two people above him that we're working on now. But quite frankly, it was a big catch because of the fact he controlled the East Coast, the eastern section. It was only 15 to 20 minutes away from the U.S. Capitol. So he was right underneath our noses. But what it goes to show you is what Kash Patel had to say. When you turn our law enforcement agencies loose to do the job they're trained to do, which is enforce the law, great things can happen. When you weaponize and politicize them, you shut the whole system down, and that's when there becomes chaos for all citizens in the United States.
Okay, I want to swing your attention to the attack on Teslas, Tesla dealers, Tesla's cars. Of course, this is a protest against Elon Musk and what he's doing, but at the same time, they're now destroying personal private property. Where is this going to go, Michael?
Well, here's what the administration has done. We have now made the determination, issued an executive order, and instructed the Attorney General. These cases are now to be treated as domestic terrorism. That's never happened before. Quite frankly, in the past, when under the Biden administration, he ignored it. And if he didn't ignore it, you got a misdemeanor for property vandalism, and that was it. Now, under domestic terrorism, the minimum sentence is 20 years, Perry. And here's what they need to understand. We're going to enforce that. Now, you say, well, you're not going to catch me. Interestingly, all the Tesla cars have cameras in them. So we very clearly can see who's doing it, who's not. We have the technology, even if you're wearing a mask, to be able to compare with photo surveillance and other things. We'll track you down. Now here's what's going to happen. It's no longer going to be, well, I'll give you a little $50 fine. No, it is a felony. There will be no negotiation of a fine. You're going to jail. The question is how long. So what I encourage people who are listening to this to realize is you're going to destroy your entire life. Not just a matter of a day, a month, a year. You're going to destroy your entire life if you want to participate in this. And we view it serious enough that we're going to nip it in the bud now, or it will get out of control. We'll have a second summer of love, pardon the pun, if we don't deal with it right immediately and right now.
My next question, Michael, it's rhetorical and it seems to be obvious, but I'd like your comments on it. But it seems to me, as we go back and look at, protests and things that are happening now, all what's happening with Tesla across the country, everything, you can go all the way back to some of the great riots that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. It's always from the left.
It is always from the left. And what's interesting is it's a tool, it's a mechanism for them to disrupt an agenda or a narrative that they don't support. They want to change. Why is this occurring? Let's go back to the basics real quick, Perry. Because of the fact that we have lists, as I just mentioned to you. Epstein list is fixing to come out. We have lists from Ukraine of millions, billions of dollars that have been sent back to politicians in our country as payoffs for those votes. We have USAID, who's been laundering money. We've got some people doing some serious crime in this country, and they know that they're fixing to get indicted for it. So what do they want to do? Change the narrative. Let's quit talking about that. Let's find something else to talk about. Let's put people out there protesting something, make that the headline so that they'll forget about what's really fixing to come about.
We're all sitting with our brain on tilt what Doge is uncovering, fraud and fat and all that stuff. And I get it. I mean, if they just stop funding some of this stuff, it'll be a huge savings. I don't know about recovering it, but at least stop the nonsense.
Right.
But sooner or later, and Elon just kind of gave a hint about it the other day, he's looking into why people come into public office at one economic level and leave at another. That tells me they're going to start tracking kickbacks.
They are. And quite frankly, it's not just tracking kickbacks, Perry. The president, unbeknownst to the mainstream media, has ordered the Department of Justice and the FBI. We're investigating every member of Congress. You came in with $100, you still got $100, it'll probably be a 30-second investigation. You came in with $100, you're at $300 million. Guess what? We're going to be spending some time with you. And quite frankly, we know the evidence is there. What's interesting, we talked about this with Ukraine, all the money that went dollar-wise, major portion of it came back to NGOs, which gave it to Congress and senators. They were basically paid for their vote to provide that aid. A lot of the ordinances that were sent over there were sold on the black market to the cartels. They're now sitting on the border, going to be used against us by the cartels. That's why we've got operations underway there now. And quite frankly, enough is enough, which gets back to our initial question, how we're going to handle the judicial issue. It's time, and this is what we're understanding in the administration, indictments have to happen. Cameras have to see people being carted off, high-profile people, being carted off in handcuffs to understand that enough is enough. You will pay for your actions, and you will be accountable for it.
So I'm hearing something here from you, and that is the agency between the fat and the abuse to the politician is an NGO?
Correct. Hundreds of thousands of them. We figured out how they work it. This is what they do, Barry, and I'm ashamed to say use the word nonprofit because I have a nonprofit.
Yeah.
But what they do is they create a nonprofit. They'll call it the Policy for Republican Foreign Aid or the Democratic Policy, whatever. They will then go to a congressman and say, I need you to serve on this board, or a senator. And here's the difference. By you serving, we're going to pay you a salary of $1 million, $2 million a year. Oh, by the way, the one thing we need you to do by being on this board is we're going to introduce a budget every year for $100 million, $200 million to be funded to us. You just need to make sure that gets through. And that's what happens. And so the reverse occurs when you have foreign aid going over there. They send it back to the NGOs, of which you are a board member, and then, of course, we pass out bonuses.
Are there statutes applied to this, so some of them go free or not?
None of them will go free. But quite frankly, nobody's ever bothered to look under these stones before. We know where they are now. We're looking under the stones. And this is what I want to share with you and your listeners, Barry. It's not a matter of, is there waste in government? Waste to me is I bought a $2 pen that I could have bought at Walmart for $1. What we're looking at is fraud, money laundering and stealing from the U.S. Treasury. And those are felonies. And quite frankly, I don't care how you cut it. The fact that you got a kickback from it, that is stealing from the U.S. Treasury. It's a felony. You're going to jail.
So is that going to be initiated through the FBI, Kash Patel's organization?
FBI, DOJ, and others.
Okay. So that seems to me that would take a lot of manpower to track all that down.
Here's the thing, Perry. We've already got it tracked. Now, the question is, you raise a very good point, because we are cleaning or cleansing, whatever word you want to use, the FBI to make sure we have loyal agents and people that are not politicized and weaponized. We got to make sure we have enough to serve all these warrants. We're still working on that right now. But why do you think we've got 30,000 beds at Gitmo waiting for people? Those are not for drug dealers. Those are not for illegal immigrants. Those are for the people who committed treason and fraud against this government. And I'm not so sure 30,000 beds is going to be enough.
Can you, last question, Michael, given the change, it's only been 90 days, what, from your perspective and your involvement, what is the feeling and the atmosphere inside the FBI and the DOJ these days?
It's one of optimism that we're heading in the right direction, because nobody wanted to be involved with an agency that was viewed as being corrupt. But it's also great apprehension. And here's the reason why. This has been going on for decades, Perry, not just weeks. So how deep does it go? Is the person sitting across from you, is he with you or is he against you? And so they're kind of wondering who's what. And that's causing some concern, as it should be. But quite frankly, your actions will speak louder than your words. We'll get it all sorted out very shortly. Then we're going to go after this major crime that's affecting our country.
Does a Comey and a Schiff ever being brought to justice?
Comey is already under investigation. You can count on it. You can take that one to the bank. And Schiff is fixing to get his due next. So yes, and those are just two. Remember, we said we've got 30,000 beds at Gitmo that we expect to fill. The number of people, not just currently, but former presidents, former senators, congressmen, former heads of agencies, former judicial judges. We're coming after everybody that broke the law, because you can't not do that. You'd have a two-tier justice system if you did.
You're amazing. Thank you, buddy.
Well, hang on. Get your 2 bags of popcorn, Perry, because it's going to get interesting real quick.
What's the Lord telling Michael these days?
Dude, hurry up and get this done, because I'm tired and want to go home.
All right, let me give you his website, investusa.org. Let me tell you and to encourage looking into this, because he helps provide, yes, bulletproof vests to a lot of police agencies that don't even have them. You can also go to michaelletts, letts.us. That is his personal website, and check that out. God bless you, friend. Good to see you. Stay in touch.
God bless you. God bless America, Perry. Take care. Good to see you.
Black Flag Armory offers top brand affordable rifles, shotguns, handguns, and gear. We also offer an array of classes emphasizing safety, self-defense, and accuracy. We strive to provide the absolute best possible experience when buying a firearm. Family friendly for every skill level. Black Flag Armory in Midford and Grants Pass. Online at blackflagarms.com or 541-499-0779. 541-499-0779.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Hi, Perry Atkinson here. Hey, I wanted to take a few moments to show you what's going on here at the Dove. For the first time in 11 years, we are adding insulation to our building, not only for weather, but for soundproofing here at the airport. And for the first time, we're adding air conditioning to the Dove. So we're asking you to prayerfully consider helping us purchase some much needed equipment during this remodel. Right here, we'd like to install an LED video wall, which will be used on the Dove's morning show. And we can use it to produce some new shows for the Dove in the future. Additionally, we need to replace a firewall server in our IT room, along with upgrading the television software, which runs all the programming on the TV network, along with replacing the morning show audio board. Thank you for being a partner in this unique media ministry. Together, we really are changing lives for good. So you can call anytime at 541-776-5368 or safely and securely online at theDove.us. Thank you. Welcome back, and just want to take a few moments again to say thank you to the many of you that are responding to our our annual spring boost here at the Dove, where we ask you to prayerfully consider supporting the Dove in unique ways. We are right in the middle of a major change here within the operation at the Dove. We've been in this building about 11 years, and finally we have set aside the budget to fix the building, which is kind of interesting. We're putting in heavy installation for soundproofing and weather. We're putting in, hopefully, some proper heating and air conditioning. What you see there is, for those watching on the Dove TV, it just shows you some of the processes that we're in right now. Is that live, guys? Is he doing that live out there with his phone? Could be. Oh, no, that's a video. Okay. Anyway, this shows you what we're doing, and we love this building. It's been a gift from God. And we're trying our best to make it work. As you know, being at the airport, we've had some noise issues in the staff. In the summertime, it's almost too hot to work in the building, and sometimes it gets too cold, so we're trying to fix all of those things. Not to mention all the things that go to make this operation work technically. So, like I said, as far as the hardcore construction is concerned, the walls, the air conditioning, the insulation, the rebuilding of things like that, most of that has been budgeted. But we now need some equipment to go into this remodel to help us function. And it's quite serious equipment that we need your help on. It totals about $128,000, and as of yesterday, I just did some quick math today, we're about 12% now into our goal. And our goal is $128,853, made up of those items you see on the screen. So if you're listening on radio, it's things like we have to replace our firewall, which is the protection of all the things that we do in the house with computers and IT information and servers. We have to upgrade the equipment that allows us to put guests on the air. We just had 3 people Skyped in. Well, that technology will go away May 1st, and Google bought out the company that we were using and will no longer provide that. So all of a sudden, us and a lot of other people around the country find ourselves scrambling to replace that piece of equipment. That's close to $5,000. We have to upgrade the software that runs the entire television network, that's just a big thing. I don't want to get details here and drive you crazy with technical things, but the point is it's high tech, and we have to constantly upgrade that. We're looking to install a what they call an LED wall, video production wall, in the future as we remodel. The main reason for that is that people looked at that and say, wow, that's a biggie. Yes, it is. Our goal here is to position the Dove to start doing more of its own production. The future for us is to start doing more shows of ourselves. So in the meantime, there's a lot going on there, and we're only asking you to do what the Lord's telling you to do. You know me for all these years, and that is that only do what the Lord's calling you to do. Don't take from your church. Don't take from any other ministry that you're involved in. But we have this goal of about $128,000. Sounds like a lot of money. It is. But let me just say this. In today's world, dealing with all the technical things that we have to deal with, this is amazing. A lot of the equipment, we constantly are upgrading. It's just one of those things that we do. The Dove is running, let's see, I think 14 radio outlets and 22 television outlets, if I remember correctly. You say, don't you know the number? Well, it changes all the time. There's a lot to keep track of. A lot of our costs, like yours, have gone up, but redoing equipment, it's just amazing. One item alone, from the time that I got the bid to when we actually going to take delivery, went up $1,200. I mean, and you shop around. We have great engineers. They're on the phone. They're on the internet looking constantly for better prices for the same piece of equipment. So we do need your help. We're asking you to prayerfully consider joining us. We're trying to do this over the next 4 weeks so that we have the funds so that as this process of the remodel goes, that we're able to insert this equipment along the way. You can call anytime at 541-776-5368 776-5368. That's our phone number. If it's busy, you can leave a message or call back. Sometimes that gets tied up on the phone. And it's very safe and secure for you to go to our website, which, by the way, is very resourceful. You can go to the website at theDove.us, and we make sure that that's safe and secure. You can certainly support the Dove there. And we don't share that information with anybody. We protect it highly. And again, that's at theDove.us. There's a picture of our landing page. But pray about it. We can't do what we do without you. The figure that I've given through the years has been pretty consistent. About 84% of the Dove's revenue in all the things that we do still comes from viewers and listeners just like you. So if you weren't there, we wouldn't be here. It's pretty simple. And we don't take that for granted. We pray over you. We thank the Lord for you. We couldn't do it without you, and you're part of something that's amazing. I wish you could read some of our prayer requests and the letters that we get. A lot of those are confidential, but I tell you, a lot of them are heart-wrenching when you read the prayer requests that we get from people that are asking for prayer. And we're honored by that. We are deeply honored to think that you would share with us some of the deepest hurts of your life or concerns of your life or problems or situations that we can join together as a family and pray for you. And those prayers, as they come in, I can tell you this, they're distributed throughout the staff, and they are prayed for. And we're honored by that. And you can always send a prayer request through the website at theDove.us. So basically what we're doing here, when it's done, we'll open it up and let you take a look. But we're flipping the operation, so to speak, because when we first moved in here, we were in a hurry. We had to get in here. We had to get set up. We had to get going. We were under a lot of pressure to get back on the air. And as the years have gone by, we realized we put the television studio. At the time, it was okay, but now it's become the noisy side of the building with airplanes literally 15 feet out behind that wall. There's airplanes firing up all the time. So we're going to flip the building and move the studios over to the other end where we can control the environment so much better. We'll redo this room so it'll make it more for the staff to be in here, better air conditioning and soundproofing as well. So it's a big deal, long overdue. I was laying in bed last night thinking about 6 things I had in my mind. I got up and I wrote some notes down so I wouldn't forget them today. As if you've done anything in the way of construction or remodel, you know that all has to fall in line. And that's where we are at the moment. People will come in here and say, well, when are you going to be done? I don't know. And the reason I've chosen to not set a date is that I didn't want to be frustrated by delays. And of course, if you do anything in the way of construction today, you're going to run into delays and you're going to run into cost overruns and all these things that happen with a construction project. So I just want it done right. I don't want to be done in a hurry and then have to come back and fix it. So we're working with some great people, great trades, great contractors, these wonderful people. And I said, I just want it done right. And so we're working on that. But we really do need your help on this equipment. It's vital in what we do. It is also stuff that, and piece of equipment that will last quite a few years to come. Some of it's hardware, some of it's software. But it will give us a big boost, so we appreciate that. So as of yesterday, if I did my math right early this morning, of the 128,853 goal, we're 12% there. So over the next 3 weeks or so, we're asking you to prayerfully consider that. But again, only do what the Lord is leading you to do, and don't take from your church by any means. And you belong in a church, okay? And don't take from any other ministry that you are associated with. But you can call 541-776-5368. That's the number, 541-776-5368. There's a big picture of that there on the screen. And if you do get a busy signal, you can leave a message or you can call back, whatever you'd like to do. We only have a couple folks out there handling the phone, but and they're delightful people. They would love to talk to you. Or you can safely and securely go online, and I do underscore the word secure because we work hard at that. And that is at theDove.us. You can hit the support button, and that'll take you to the page. It's easy to do, and you can follow through with all of that. But thank you so much. Let me say this also. It's your prayers that really make a difference here at the Dove. We're in an interesting time, as you can tell. There's so many things going on around the world, in our backyard, in our nation. And people are looking for answers. They're looking for hope. Is the Bible really real? Is there really a God? Does he really love me? Simple questions are coming to the Dove from people who happen to be tuning in at a right time. Now, they'll call it a coincidence. We call it a divine appointment. But people will be scanning the dial, radio, television, maybe on their phone, apps or whatever. We're on all those platforms. And they'll run into something at the right time, and there'll be the right program talking about the very thing that they need to hear. And God uses the program to change their life. So when you support the Dove, you're part of that. Quite frankly, we probably will never see the full impact of the Dove until we get to heaven. But I can tell you this, it's growing, it's significant. Our reach is from, well, our broadcast reach is from literally southern Washington all the way through San Francisco, down through the Central Valley, down into the South Bay area as far as television concerned, and our reach primarily with radio in the Oregon area. But we couldn't do this without you. So call 541-776-5368 or safely and securely online at thedove.us. And let me just say thank you from the bottom of my heart and from all of us here at the Dove. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for believing in what God called us to do and that you've become a part of that. We value your partnership greatly. God bless you and thank you.